It's been 49 days of sheer hockey horror. This Maple Leafs skid has taken on frightening proportions. 19 games, only 3 wins, 3 ties, but 13 times turned away. It's led to plenty of questions and a team desperately searching for answers. The faces of coaches, management, players, and fans all reveal the scare factor. This has been almost a quarter of a season, free-falling through hockey's most ghastly dungeon. It must end soon. The playoffs are hanging in the balance. This Leaf team too talented, too driven, and too qualified for this type of horror. Make no mistake, all involved are thinking about this film, hoping its run ends tonight.
The following is a presentation of the Global Television Network in association with Molestar Communications.
Since 1972, Winnipeg and the Jets have been part of the fabric of pro hockey. The WHA fathered in by Bobby Hull here. He was its marquee name. The Jets, the marquee franchise. Later joined by Anders Hedberg and Ulf Nielsen, they formed hockey's most prolific trio. They joined the NHL in 1979, and by 81, things were just ducky. Jets fans cheered Dale Hawerchuk, and for the next 16 seasons, Winnipeg has supported in a sea of white. A dedicated group thought last season was its last in the NHL. It only delayed the inevitable. 10 months later, this is the Leafs' last visit to Winnipeg, a city that has supported its team and the league, and for that they can be proud. It's a season to remember. Molson Leaf Hockey on the Global Television Network is brought to you by Molson Ultra Wickedly Smooth Beer. Welcome to Winnipeg. There is hockey in the air, there are some freezing temperatures in the air, and that is your scene setter. But the Winnipeg Jets are hot, folks. Consider this game on Monday night against Gretz, then with the LA Kings. Winnipeg wins that game, says goodbye to Gretzky, and have won their last 2 in a row. And how about the Maple Leafs coming in here, losing their last 5 hockey games and looking to snap out of it? Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Taddy. Welcome to Molson Leaf Hockey on the Global Television Network. Welcome to the Winnipeg Arena. This is the first of a 3-game road trip for the Leafs. Tonight in Winnipeg, Saturday night in Dallas, and Sunday night we will show you the finale from Denver. A lot said about maybe this trip has perfect timing, but you know what? The players and the coaches all know the location means nothing. It'll be good effort and solid, disciplined play that snaps the latest skid. Things boiled over on Saturday night with a close loss to Dallas, and Coach Pat Burns really summed it up with his post-game comments.
Guys are all down. I mean, I tell them, I don't know what curse is upon us or what. I don't know what it is. Try shaking them up yesterday. Try to not say nothing. Try to say something. Maybe getting out of town might be something else. I don't know. Never in my life. Nope.
And the numbers are painful. 3-13-3, 6 one-goal losses, only 14 power play goals. 16 times they've scored 2 or fewer goals. It adds up to a rough time. The team under scrutiny from the players, from themselves, and from the Leaf chairman of the board, Steve Stavro. What will he see? Same thing you will. Keep watching.
Trying to cut in off the wing, set it over, Miller scores! Nice setup!
Chubby is the pride of the blue and white. The bomber and Domi made him on ice now. Felix the
next for the last regular season time, live from Winnipeg, the Leafs and the Jets.
What a great party. Let's not forget introductions. This here is new Molson Ultra. And this here is the party. Get this. It's a new smooth 6.2% dry beer. Okay? Okay. Basically, you got a strong beer that doesn't feel like you're swallowing a small farm animal. That's my department. Molson Ultra, 6.2% dry. Wickedly smooth beer.
Welcome back to Molson Leaf Hockey on Global. Tonight we're in Winnipeg, a difficult city to be a hockey fan in. First they announce the team is leaving, then they break your hearts by trading Teemu Solani. A couple of kids coming here, Harry. Too early to analyze that trade?
Well, the people in Winnipeg are not going to enjoy these two youngsters as much as the people in Phoenix, but if they turn out to be as good as they were selected in the draft, in Tverdovsky, a defenseman, and Kilgore forward, they've got two bright young prospects who, if you listen to the scouts who watch them play junior hockey or hockey in Europe, they say they're going to be two fine hockey players. They aren't quite adapted to the Winnipeg situation yet, and when you get traded this early in your career to a new team, it puts a lot of pressure on you, especially Kilgore. This is first year in the league.
There are a couple of players here who can be called leaf killers, I guess. Kachuk and Zhamnov come to mind immediately.
Well, Keith Kachuk is one of the finer players in the National Hockey League, and his statistics show that. Zhamnov not doing as well this year as last year, but against the Toronto Maple Leafs, he's been the most dangerous forward. And if you're a defenseman for the Leafs and these two guys are coming in on you, either together or apart, you better be on your toes, especially Zhamnov. He'll slip that puck by you and be by you in a whistle.
Opening face-off moments away as we get you back now to Jim Taddy.
Thank you, Jigs. Plenty of conversation this week about the Leafs and the latest skid, and the psychologists are there. What goes on with that?
Well, actually, some of the players I talked to said they actually got something out of it, that they, one of the guys brought some humor into it and said you got to keep things in perspective and not listen to what other people say, and you will get out of it, but you can't continue to beat yourself up over it.
All right, we'll see what happens tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. Let's go upstairs to Harry and Jigs.
Thanks, Jim. Hi again, everybody. The last trip to Winnipeg for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
A lot of people complain about Winnipeg. I'm going to miss this place. I really am.
Yeah, sure.
1972 started here in the WHA. I've seen a lot of great games. Highly intelligent fans, and they're going to miss the NHL, and I feel bad for every one of them, Jigs.
Was that written?
No, it wasn't. It's true. I mean, This is a real typical Canadian city, and a large section of the population love hockey, and they're going to go without the best league in the world starting next year.
Well, you saw Bill McCreary put the puck in play. The Leafs started a forward line here with Dave Andreychuk on the left side, Kurt Muller, or I should say Andreychuk on the one side, Muller on the other, and Gilmore in the middle, as you've seen in the past several games. And here's Dave Ellett moving it out. Muller to that Winnipeg line. The pass was behind Andreychuk. Big collision. Muller and Kachuk, and down the far side is Temple Newman and centers, and Zhamnov is ridden right into the pads and the post.
Lots of action in this game right away. Muller took an awful good body check from Kachuk, and then Zhamnov slid into the goaltender Potvin, knocked the net off, and kept going right into the boards. Here's the hit on Kurt Muller. This is one reason why you like Kachuk. He can score, and he does this every once in a while. A sudden stop and a good clean body check. And then here's the chance. Zhamnov going to the net, waiting for the pass across, and he's hauled down from behind by Ellett, and they both spill into the end of the ring. Keith Kachuk, a holdout at the start of this season, and he leads the Jets in goals, points, power play goals, and game-winning goals. And Muller for the Leafs, who was on the wrong end of that body check, has scored 11 points in his last 7 games.
And the goaltending matchup for tonight's game, Felix Potvin. There are the numbers on the season. A career record of 8 wins, 5 losses, and a tie against Winnipeg. And Nikolai Habibulin is in the nets for Winnipeg, as you might expect, because this is his 16th consecutive start. 6-8-1 in that stretch, giving up 43 goals, and on the season, 5 games over 500.
And he's one of the principal reasons the Jets are still in the playoff hunt. Pat Burns, of course, is running out of novel ideas as of ways of shaking the team out of this horrendous slide. Now
set for this face-off. Eastwood comes in to take the draw against Dave Gagne of the Leafs. Gagne kicks the puck but doesn't get it outside the line, and Manson's long shot deflected in front. Todd Gill to Larry Murphy into the center ice zone for Gagne, who was slowed up a little bit, but now Gartner moves on and his shot was tipped wide. Meso around the boards. Gartner unable to center it. Taken down on the play is Oleg Tverdovsky. Now Gartner gets tripped up. Eastwood tumbles to the deck. The puck stays in the Winnipeg zone. Sergio Momesso got it in deep. Centered out in front by Gartner's. Got it again. Gartner tied up in the boards. This is Gagne trying to flip it through in front. Momesso's backhander is denied. And the Jets able to clear it out. Back goes Murphy. Both teams in the middle of player changes. For a minute and a half into the opening period at Winnipeg as Larry Murphy sets up. Murphy to Sundin off his stick, and MacIver dumps it back in. This is Todd Gill. Sundin out with Warner and Colasar. Colasar wearing number 37, playing right wing at the moment. Here's Chad Kilger putting it right across the Leafs goal mouth. Or MacIver works it in deeper. Kilger taps it on back of the net. They get King out in front, but the pass doesn't arrive thanks to Murphy's work. This is Matt Sundin. Turned it over at center ice. Igor Korolev for Winnipeg. Fires a long shot that's grabbed and dropped off by Potvin. Jamie McCowan from back of the net. Up the left wing off Warner's skates. Handled now by Matt Sundin. On to Colasar. Got tripped up. MacIver got just enough of him to take him off balance, and McKenzie handled the puck long enough for MacIver to come back. Or MacIver quarterbacking things with a pass to McKenzie, knocked away by Dmitry Yashkevich. Hendrickson tipped that. Boy, that was close. Hendrickson goes to the corner. Stapleton is on him now. Ty Domi battling for it along with Tverdovsky. Tverdovsky is now wearing uniform number 20 for Winnipeg, and he has just taken the puck away. Played it up around the boards. Jim McKenzie has dumped it down the ice, and as McCowan goes back, we'll get an icing call against Winnipeg.
Well, a long deflection nearly fooled Javi Bulin here 3 minutes into the game, as it was more of a shoot-in than a pass, I think. But watch what happens here. Here it is right here. It's just tipped. And Colasar coming into the picture here, playing his first game on this, his second recall. He's scored twice in the 6th game he's played. Pat Burns made that lineup change. Momesso's back in tonight. So when you haven't won as often as you like, you're willing to try anything, and those are 2 of the moves that Burns came up with for the game here in Winnipeg.
Jamnoff is back out there for the Jets. Squaring to take this draw that's won by Gilmore. Kirk Muller can't get it to a teammate, and Olchuk turns it up ahead. Here's Tkachuk. Keith Tkachuk's shot is turned aside. Olchuk in after the puck. Back of the net, Keith Tkachuk trying to center. McCowan knocked it away. Over goes Numminen. Around the end boards, Tkachuk back to Numminen. Puts it behind the net for Olchuk. Tkachuk got in front. They can't make the pass work, and Dave Ellett has played it out. Gilmore races after it at center ice. He's picked up here by Jeff Finley. Pulled up on Finley, then can't center it. Jamnoff came back neatly. That's Andreychuk turning it to the boards. Dave Andreychuk can't get it to a teammate, and Tkachuk comes to center ice for the Jets, but a 2-line pass. Offside against Winnipeg. Early in the first period on Molson Leaf Hockey, no score.
What a great party.
Tonight you can see Rick Wamsley on the bench with Mike Kitchen. Rick's on the headset up to Pat Park. Usually he sits up there in the press box. So any little change will do. And if they win tonight, you know where Warmer will be Saturday night, don't you?
Right there with that same headset. Different city, but same assignment. Gagne in the middle. Gartner is on the right side. Momesso on the left for the Leafs. We played 3.5 minutes of the first period. There is no score at Winnipeg. The Jets trying to get out of their own zone, and now Mike Eastwood, the former Leaf, has put it in the near corner. It's Shanahan after it. Gartner takes him to the end boards. There's Gavich trying to move it out on the wing, but there's Manson with a long shot. Eastwood digs it out of the corner, gave it to Shannon. Darren Shannon trying to center. Now Dallas Drake pries it off the boards for Winnipeg. Back to Shannon. Shannon out-battled Gagne, and then couldn't get it to Eastwood. Good recover by Gagne. Held in here by Manson. Now Shannon at the side of the net. Popped it out in front and bounced away from Dallas Drake. Dmitry Yushkevich plays one off the glass, and at center ice it's picked up and shot back in by Manson. Winnipeg changing up after the shoot-in. Yushkevich starts out. Dmitry Yushkevich cutting to the right here at center, then hard around the boards. Momesso puts it back in the net for Dave Gagne. Couldn't center it in time. Here's Chris King. Can't get to the puck as Yushkevich stepped into him, and on comes Korolev. Lost it, picked it up, and put the whole thing offside.
Well, let's have a look at the lineups here for both teams. First, the Leafs. Matt Martin, Janssen, and Berger all hurt. A healthy scratch is Mike Craig. For the Winnipeg Jets, Gillen, Doan, Turcotte are all hurt. Turcotte might play in the weekend, but he's got to wear a cast on a bad thumb for the rest of the season. Quentin Fraser are healthy scratches. Dominic Roussel, acquired yesterday from the Philadelphia Flyer organization for Cheveldae and a third-round pick, is the backup goalie for the Jets.
Is that 5 different goaltenders now to wear the uniform for Winnipeg this season?
It's 4 teams that have used 5 goalies this year in the National Hockey League.
Wow. Todd Warner trying to make something happen as he rounds the net. The stuff in is turned aside. Igor Korolev backhands it off the boards, off the linesman as well, and into the Winnipeg bench. It's a play stoppage 5 minutes into the first period.
Well, Terry Simpson, the coach of the Winnipeg Jets, a 32-37-5 record here in Winnipeg. Tonight he's coaching his 345th NHL game as a head coach. Remember, he worked in Philadelphia for 3 years. Prince Albert was his junior team that he led to a Memorial Cup. Hopefully he'll accompany the team to Phoenix and hold the same position. We don't know that yet for sure.
Well, there are a lot of question marks surrounding the staff here, the coaching staff, training staff, public relations, front office.
Hope some of the players are worried too.
Yeah. The puck bouncing in the Leaf zone. Now Toronto trying to come to center. Ty Domi up off the boards. Couldn't get it to Sundin. Warner, Sundin, and Domi. Zettler and Murphy to the defense pairing. Murphy chopped in one that ends up in the seats deep in the Leaf territory.
Well, the Leafs, as we know, have only won 3 times in the last 19 games, and maybe Pat Burns could make use of an old Shakespearean quote to put his players in the right frame of mind under these circumstances. William Shakespeare once said, "You will never get to the end of the journey if you stop and toss a stone at every dog that barks." And a few dogs have been barking at Pat lately.
Oh, yes.
11-5-2 as a Leaf coach against the Winnipeg Jets.
There is no score in tonight's game, and Olchek moves in to take the draw for Winnipeg. Darby Hendrickson for the Leafs. Hendrickson with Kolasar and Baumgartner. Winnipeg winning the face-off. Jamnov had trouble with it, however. Kolasar up off the boards. Hendrickson a shoot-in, but after it had crossed 2 lines and put the play offside.
Well, you mentioned Habby Boulin, his 16th consecutive start. The Winnipeg Jets finishing up a homestand here. They've won 2 in a row after losing 4 in a row. They have 4 games in hand on the Toronto Maple Leafs. And so if they could win those, plus beat the Leafs in the 2 remaining games they play against them, that gap that now exists would be closed in a hurry. There was a shot of one of the newest Jets, Tverdovsky, came over in the Solani trade from Anaheim, and since that trade, the Jets are 4-4-0.
Now Winnipeg playing the puck into the Leaf zone, and McCowan goes back. Jamie McCowan around the boards. Andrew Chuck and Jamnov got tied up, and Jamnov moved it on to Tkachuk. Centered, and Olchuk couldn't hold the pass. Kirk Muller pops it out of there. Newman back for Winnipeg. Up ahead, here's Tkachuk. He's onside, coming right in, shoots, puck man beats him.
Keith Tkachuk was late on the back check, trapped deep in the Leaf zone, and I don't know that any Leaf out in the ice knew that Tkachuk was there. And he just got over the blue line on the neutral zone turnover, and look what he's got. Clear sailing, a great and a very timely stop by Potvin on the breakaway by Tkachuk. And one way of stopping the slump is to have your goaltender come up with one of those nights we've seen Felix play, where he just won't let anything in. Tkachuk has 2 goals in the 3 games that he's played against the Leafs this year.
Just a little more than 6 minutes into the opening period at Winnipeg. Gilmore got slowed up as he came through center ice, and here's Zhamnov. Through center as Tkachuk moving up with him. The late man is Olchuk, and he puts it in deep. And the Olchuk in after it as well. Centers right across the goal mouth. Here's Keith Tkachuk, cranks one up, only to have it blocked. Dave Andreychuk leads the Leafs out through center ice. 3 Jets back. Andreychuk can't get through them. A big collision with Tkachuk. He plays both ends, doesn't he? Here's Zhamnov. Olchuk goes wide, and the shot is blocked. Then covered by Potvin.
Well, we got Olchuk, we got Tkachuk, and we almost lost Andreychuk on a good body check there by Keith Tkachuk, who's already leveled Muller, and he gets a chance to knock Andreychuk down, who's trying to fake shot it past Manson. And a power forward. That's what the Winnipeg Jets thought when they drafted Tkachuk, and they were right. Eddie Olchuk, 9 goals in the previous 2 years. 20 in 41 games here with the Jets, and he's had a very interesting rebirth. 3 assists against LA on Monday night, 24 points, and this is 31st game against the Leafs. And he was a popular and productive Toronto Maple Leaf for a number of years.
Free agent, I believe, at the end of this season, is he not? The puck knocked down, right. Backhanded right on. Potvin, a big stop there off Eastwood.
Well, when you lose the draw in your own end, you can't allow anybody in the opposition to walk to the net unopposed. Gagne loses the center. Why he's going out, I don't know. There are 2 wingers going out. And so now we've got 3 Jets in front of the net and only 2 Leafs. The defensive center has to stay with the offensive center on the loss of the draw. If he doesn't, you gamble on that situation that we saw on that replay.
Gagne and Eastwood again. Linesman Dan McCourt putting the puck in play. Shannon around the end boards for Dallas Drake. Skavage went right to him, knocking him off balance. Shannon puts it on the end boards. That's Drake to Eastwood. Gill picked him up, took him down. Puck still loose and now controlled by Drake. To Eastwood. Centers it out in front off a pair of skates. Tverdovsky holds it in. Gill went to Shannon as Gagne picks up the puck. Moved it on. Here's Gartner through center, surrounded by 3 Winnipeg Jets. Gartner trying to dance it around Manson. Eastwood back to help. Off the boards and out, too far for Shannon here on left wing. So the Leafs set up at their own territory. It's Murphy with a pass that ends up being controlled by Gartner. Gartner across the Winnipeg line, knocked down by Manson. Momesso drives for the puck. Back to Murphy, through a screen, the shot is blocked. Played out of there by Chad Kilger. On to Shannon. Kilger up ahead as Shannon shoots it in and Kilger races in. Potvin slowed it up. Kilger coming a little late now, but Sundin is there. That's Sundin to Larry Murphy. Murphy's pass didn't get to a teammate in time, and the play goes offside. Still 11 minutes, 56 seconds remaining in the first period of Winnipeg. There is no score.
Paddock, the general manager of the Winnipeg Jets, has been busy in the last 2 years. Here are 10 players they've added. They certainly have repaired their defense core with the addition of veteran Craig Muni and the addition of Tverdovsky and McIver give them much more mobility and offensive strength from the defense. Their defense core, 126 points. The Leafs, for instance, defense core scored 92. And the Jets were known to have a slow, inefficient offensive defense core. You add Newman into that list.
Just add Todd Warner to the goal-scoring list. The Leafs up 1-0 at Winnipeg.
Now Todd Warner, who had been pointless in his last 7 games, scores his 6th goal of the season on some good hard work down deep by Ty Domi. Domi tries to wrap around and he doesn't get around, but it goes off the stick of Happy Boonen right to Warner and he puts it in. Ty Domi, who gets his 9th point of the year, and 8 of them have come on the road. Todd Warner gets a much awaited goal, playing on a line on that shift with Sundin and Domi.
He had played 18 without a goal. The last one he had scored at Long Island back on January 11th. 18 games without one. And Warner gives the Leafs the lead at 8:24. Now Baumgartner and McKenzie have squared off.
McKenzie's the big tough guy for the Winnipeg Jets, and of course Baumgartner's been in a few of these over the years.
It was short and not a lot of damage done to either one of them. Started with a little chat at center ice after the Leafs scored the first goal of the game. And the puck was not 5 feet away from the two centers when these two guys went at it. There's Pat Burns giving the old, was it 5 each? To Bill McCreary, the referee. And there's Warner, who got the only goal of this game.
And with that goal, a winner in the score and win contest, Harry. John McCrudden entered automatically using a savings card at Miracle Food Mart. As a result, John has won an IBM Aptiva multimedia computer.
Well, here's another look at the goal. Domi got the puck on the shoot in, came around the net, tried to wrap around it, went off Happy Bullen's stick right to Warner, and he put it in without waiting a second. The first goal of the game for the Leafs has been vital. 20 wins, 5 losses, and 4 ties when they score first. And the Winnipeg Jets are one of the few teams whose record isn't much different when they score first or the opposition scores first. So the Leafs have got to build on the goal that got them ahead and see what they can do from there.
This is Chris King, the captain of the Jets, but he ran into Hendrickson. Puck will end up deep in the Winnipeg zone as McIver chugs back. Muni came back trying to tie up Sundin and then took him down. So Craig Muni goes to the penalty box. You'll notice he's wearing a different uniform number now. Craig Muni is 28.
Well, Craig Muni, who was the 25th overall pick by the Maple Leafs in 1980, 3 Stanley Cups under his belt with Edmonton, and he's trying to run a little interference for his defense partner, Norm McIver, and he hauls Sundin down, and that's a penalty that's called almost every time in the 95-96 NHL season.
Obstruction interference, if you will, at 8:54 on Craig Muni.
Now the Leafs go on the power play. In the last 5 games, they're 3 for 25, so it's just one of the areas for the Toronto Maple Leafs that has dried up over this 19-game slide of death.
14th overall, 14th on the road, and they win the draw here. Murphy to Sundin. Up front, you've got Muller, Gilmore, and Andreychuk. This is Doug Gilmore. Across ice, Sundin shot hit a stick. Andreychuk unable to control it, now moves it on to Muller. They watched by Jamnoff. Muller spreads things out a little, gave it to Andreychuk. Muller to the front of the net. Murphy was there and it jumped off his stick. Kurt Muller can't keep it in the zone. Newman up to Jamnoff. He's got Tkachuk over on the right side. There's the pass. Nice stop by Potvin.
A short-handed 2-on-1 and Potvin's second startling stop tonight.
The Jets have scored 7 short-handed goals. The Leafs have given up 7. And that was oh so close. Finley nudges it up ahead. 2-on-1 again. Jamnoff and Tkachuk. Jamnoff shoots this time and missed the net. Leafs come out the right side, led by Andreychuk. Crossed the Winnipeg line, but without the puck. So he resets at center ice here. Feeds it on to Gilmore's stick. He shoots. Javi Bullen way out on top of the goal mouth. 1-0 Leafs and a goal by Todd Warner. Still 55 seconds left in Muni's interference penalty.
Well, this 2-on-1 when you've got the power play are the kinds of plays that drive the coach wacky. The first one, Larry Murphy makes a good play and he walks in, he's all alone, but he can't take the pass. Then Muller's hooked. And away the Jets go for a 2-on-1. You can see Murphy trying to get back into the play. And here's the best stop of the night. Potvin robs Tkachuk. And here's the second one. This time Zamnoff decides to shoot it. And his sights are off. And it goes wide and high of Potvin. And the Leafs get off the hook twice in this power play with 2 great chances against.
Now Gagne, Momesso, and Gartner up front. Todd Gill on the right point. Dave Ellen on the left point. 46 seconds remaining in this power play for the Maple Leafs. Ellen starts the play. Carries it through center ice, then hard around the boards. Javi Bullen lets it go through. Mike Stapleton kicks it back of the net. McIver turns it up the boards. Kept in by Todd Gill. Stapleton backed away from him. Gill looking for somebody to give it to. Spotted Gagne, then around behind the net, but too far for Gartner. Chris King doesn't get it out. Elliott shot toward the net is turned aside, and here's Gagne on the loose puck. Knocked off his feet by the check of McIver. King on to McIver. Turns back on Todd Gill. McIver with 5 seconds to go in this power play for the Leafs. Dallas Drake at the leaf line gets checked, and it's Momesso dropping it back. On comes Gagne. Played it through Todd Gill, as it turns out. So the Leafs fail to score with the man advantage. Gallant can't get it to Momesso in time. Dallas Drake's pass was picked off. That's Todd Gill to Mike Gartner. Gartner to the Winnipeg line, being bothered by Eastwood. On comes Warner, and a shot was blocked at the defense. Newman starts out for the Jets. The pass was deflected, picked up at center. Eastwood to Shannon, and then to Drake. Dallas Drake shot right on, and it's handled and held by Potvin. You're watching Molson Leaf Hockey on the Global Television Network. 1-0 Toronto. Closed captioning of this period is being brought to you by Apple Auto Glass. Exclusive bond for life installations guaranteed safer by 130 apples coast to coast.
Mr. Kelly, Mr. Stavro have come to add the obvious support for their struggling Toronto Maple Leaf teams. The slogan for the Leafs might be one that Oscar Wilde mentioned. Win any way you can. Necessity hath no law.
Leafs change up right from the draw, getting Sundin and Warner off the ice. Now Domi joins them. McCown and Elliott get back in, and Jamnov shot his block, and the rebound was there, and unable to handle it with Eddie Olczyk. Changing up, the Leafs get Gilmore, Andreychuk, and Muller out against Tkachuk, Olczyk, and Jamnov. Dave Andreychuk left it on the boards. Alexei Jamnov takes the big turn. Out to Teppo Numminen. Numminen over center, dumps it in wide. McCowan hustles back with Olczyk right on him. Now Kurt Muller moves it to Doug Gilmore. 3 Jets back, 3 Leafs moving up. Gilmore to Andreychuk. Into the corner for Gilmore. Centered it in front. Muller couldn't get there in time, and now the puck goes out of play. The clock stopped with 7 minutes, 42 seconds left in the first period. Let's join Jim Ralph.
All right, thanks, Jigs. Aaron Turcotte, Winnipeg Jets forward, damaged ligaments in the thumb, and when do you expect to be back?
Well, I'm hoping for this weekend. I'm going to have another cast put on tomorrow, and you know, if all goes well, hopefully I'll be able to make my return back to Hartford. Now,
It looks obviously the team is not going to be here next year. How hard is it when you got up and started your car this morning not to think about Cactus and Phoenix?
Well, it makes it easier having the injury because I know I can't golf with it. So, but you know, it's something we try not to think about, and you know, just got to get on with this year, and next year, whatever happens, happens.
Quick hello back to North Bay.
Sure, I guess say hi to all my family and friends back home.
All right, let's go back upstairs. Thanks, Dirk.
Thanks, Jim. 7 minutes, 42 seconds remaining in this opening period at the Winnipeg Arena. The Leafs with the lead. Todd Warner getting his 6th goal of the season. Ty Domi the only assist. Mike Eastwood dumping the puck into the Leaf zone. Montman turned it toward the corner only to have it hit Shannon. Darren Shannon with Gill all over top of him. Shannon ends up on the deck. Drake ends up with the puck only to be checked by Gagne. Shannon again trying to get away from Gill. Quite a battle, isn't it? Now Dallas Drake controls it. Gagne stayed with him. Drake recovers the puck, sets up Eastwood for a shot that missed. Mike Gartner back for the Leafs. Breaking up ahead is Gagne. He's onside. Comes in. Just turned aside. Close call again for the Leafs. We've had a couple at both ends of the ice. Winnipeg has missed on their chances too. Murphy out battling Drake. Gagne back to help out. Murphy frees up the puck, and it's Dave Gagne lifting it off the boards. It hit Kilger and went right back to Gagne, who's popped it down into the Winnipeg zone, wide of the net. Greg Beauty did not touch up first. Here's Warner back of the net. Stripped of it by McIver. Now comes around the boards to King and out of there. Rob Zettler turns and hustles back. 6 minutes, 20 seconds to go in this opening period. Zettler leaves it in the corner for Dmitry Yushkevich. Yushkevich out to Domi, who's tipped it over the Winnipeg line, but King is there. Chris King has Korolev coming up with them. King tight on the right wing boards, fires one that hit a skate, and Sundin digs it out of the near corner. Up to Todd Warner. Off the boards and into the Winnipeg zone. Nikolai Hobby-Bulin plays it toward Chris King, and then back to Norm McIver. King in a big collision with Domi, and here's Korolev. Korolev through center, dumps it in wide at Potvin net. King in after it. Got knocked off balance. Here's an opportunity developing, and Kilger couldn't hold the puck. Yashkevich off balance, recovers nicely, steps over center and shoots it in. Bobby Bullen out. Newman to Kilger, waiting for his teammates to complete a change. Now he decides to shoot it in. Gilmore back for Toronto. The Colasar and off his stick. Epple Newman into the hard shoot in. Potvin holds it up back of the net for Jamie McCowan. McCowan stick handling out of the zone. Gilmore was taken off his skates. McCowan hard around the glass and the shoot in. Leafs trying to complete their changes now as Gilmore hustles back for a loose puck. That's Olchuk coming up quickly. Gilmore able to clear it out through Muller and all the way down into the Winnipeg end. Dumoulin pops it off. This is Jandoff. Alexei Jandoff through center and across the Leaf line. Fed Olchuk on left wing. Shoots, just missed the net. Kirk Muller trying to move it out of there, but it's held by Tverdovsky. Into the corner, that's Tkachuk. Looks to Tverdovsky, but he decides to hold on to it. Now feeds it off and just too far for Tverdovsky. Here's Tkachuk with a shot. Blocked by Gilmore. Manson lets one rip. That hit Andreychuk, and Muller starts out for Toronto. On to Gilmore. Two men back for Winnipeg. Gilmore across the line. Feeds it off. Andreychuk can't get it by Bobby Bullen. Neither can Todd Gill. What a goal-mouth battle. And it's won by Winnipeg. Close calls, weren't they? This is Bolts and Leaf Hockey on the Global Television Network.
Get the best opportunity they've had since Warner scored. Andreychuk goes a little too far and can't get it up. Look at the chance right here by Todd Gill with Muller in the crease, and then he couldn't find it. The Winnipeg Jets objected violently to the fact Muller was in the crease, but he did not go in there initially on his own, and he had about a 2-inch putt and he couldn't put it in the hole there.
The only goal of the game by Todd Warner, and that breaks a streak. Over the last 3 games, only Gilmore and Gagne had scored for the Leafs. All 7 goals that Toronto had put up in the last 3 by either Gilmore or Gagne. Now Warner from Domi at 8:24. Leafs with a 1-0 lead as we watch Gagne facing off here against Mike Eastwood. MacGyver takes the puck back to the net. On to Darren Shannon. Gagne riding hurt on Eastwood, forcing Shannon to shoot it in. Drake trying to drive it around Todd Gill. Gill up to Mobesso, now towards center ice. Hustling back as MacGyver as Gagne came up quickly. MacGyver off the boards to Shannon. On to Eastwood. He steps over the Leaf line. Leaves it for Dallas Drake. Drake centers, tipped wide by Eastwood. Handled now by Gagne. Mobesso slaps at it and didn't get it out. Todd Gill to the end boards from Larry Murphy. Shannon took it away from him. Puts it in front. Nice stop by Potvin off Drake, and there's a penalty call coming against the Leafs. Oh, Drake had the tying goal on his stick, but Potvin had it all figured out.
The Leafs had control of the puck earlier in this shift in their own end and couldn't get it out and had to take a penalty after Potvin made a brilliant save with his right leg to keep this game at 1-0. And Felix Potvin has been as sharp as a tack tonight.
We want to make it perfectly clear. You'll find guaranteed low prices at your Canadian Tire store every day. If you find a better price anywhere, we'll match it. Guaranteed.
Well, here's the penalty after the stop. You can see Gagne tackles Drake, or tries to tackle Dallas Drake, and gets the first penalty of the hockey game to the Leafs. So the Jets have a power play opportunity with 3:26 to go in the first period. And they've scored only 2 power play goals in their last 7 games, 2 for 34.
They are still ranked 7th overall in the league, 19.6% efficiency. They score on nearly 21% of their chances with power play on home ice, though. Tkachuk, Olchuk, Jandoff, Korolev, and MacGyver as you look at the former Leaf. Benio.
He's got 13 power play goals out of the 20 he scored.
Gilmore just beat him on the draw. Dave Ellen. Kirk Muller. And the Jets will set up deep in their own territory. The Leafs have had 10 shots on goal. The Jets have had 8. 1-0 Toronto, and a goal by Todd Warner. MacGyver to Korolev. Across the Toronto line, the puck knocked away, and McCowan shoots it down the ice. Jammed off, and McIver go back as Gilmore comes in quickly. Here's Norm McIver. McIver decides to feed it off to Tkachuk over the line, but now the puck taken away, and again it's McCowan dumping it down the ice. Into forecheck now, Darby Hendrickson for Toronto. Alexei Zhamnov. Trouble making the pass to Korolev. When you don't make that good first pass, you're in trouble. Now Zhamnov moves it up. Too far for Korolev, and this will be an icing call against Winnipeg.
Well, the Winnipeg Jets got far greater chances to score when they were shorthanded than they did in this power play. One of the additions by John Paddock, as we mentioned earlier, is Norm McIver. He leads the Jets in assists, and since he's joined the Jets, he has 3 goals, 17 assists in the 24 games he's played, and 21 power play points. So he's been a nice addition to the Winnipeg Jets and has been on the power play for most teams he's played for. So you get he, Numminen, Tverdovsky, if he develops into the kind of player they think he is, they're going to have lots of offense from the blue line.
McIver getting on in age, but if Tverdovsky develops, as you say, they're going to be deep in that department. And here's Tverdovsky with the pass. Kilgore left side for Manson, but too far. Potvin reaches out and snags it. 50 seconds remaining in this Winnipeg power play. And here's what's ahead on our first intermission tonight. Right out of the box when the period ends, Jim Ralph will be chatting with Doug Gilmore. Harry will give you his solution to getting out of slumps and how coaches go about changing things up. We'll take a look at the rest of the action around the National Hockey League tonight. And of course, in our all-time Bell Canada Leaf team, Lanny McDonald is featured tonight.
One move I made to help my teams get out of a slump was I took this job in the broadcast booth.
That worked, didn't it? Gilmore against Olchuk again, and the Leafs have cleared it out towards center ice. Or McIver backs up with Muller moving in. Pass off Zhamnov's stick, and again, that first pass doesn't work. Gilmore drops it back to McCowan. Down the ice it goes. Now half a minute remaining in that holding penalty on Dave Gagne. Alexei Zhamnov feeds it off to McIver. Right around the boards. Potvin had a bounce off his stick and went to Tkachuk. Keith Tkachuk. Let Olchuk. Back to Zhamnov. Fires from the point only to have it blocked and then cleared away. That's Olchuk. Korolev to Zhamnov. Igor Korolev comes off the boards. Looks to Zhamnov. Decides to shoot it. Blocked by Potvin. A bouncing puck on the rebound, and Gilmore gets it out through center ice. Gagne out of the penalty box. No shots on goal attributed to Winnipeg with the man advantage. And Potvin has faced, now they have added a shot. They've made it 9, and none of them have been able to get by this guy.
But 5 of the 9 have been very difficult stops, and Felix Potvin has boarded up the net here with 1:18 to go in the first period. And here is the last stop through a maze of players, and Gilmore grabs the rebound and gets it down the ice. And Rick Wamsley, who, as we mentioned earlier, is down on the bench tonight with Mike Kitchen and Pat Burns. So Pat's trying everything to see if he can come up with a formula for a win.
Gagne, Momesso, and Gartner, the Leaf forward line with Murphy and Gill on defense. Dallas Drake up the middle. Dumped it in. Shannon going it after it. Gill riding him. Here's Drake. Looks to Eastwood, who goes to the front of the net. The puck is knocked away. Capo Numminen. And play it in deeper. The Leafs come to center ice. Gartner to Momesso. Gartner to the front of the net. Tipped it, and Hobby Bullen stops that. Excellent goaltending at both ends of the ice this opening period.
Well, go to the net without the puck, and that's what Mike Gartner does, and he's nearly rewarded with a goal as the Winnipeg defenseman just let him step by him. Numminen and Drake both let him go. In all fairness to Numminen, he was worried about the player coming down the left wing, but you can't let people go unopposed to the goal. If you do, the goaltender's got a very difficult stop to make if the forward can get a stick on the puck and redirect the pass. 1,270 games Mike Gartner has played in as of tonight.
played more, 17 I guess it is, have played more games in the National Hockey League than Mike Gartner. Momesso puts it back in the net. Temple Numanen in the exchange with Hobby Bullen just slaps it off the boards and all the way down the ice. Larry Murphy to touch up. Clock will be stopped with 37.7 seconds remaining in this opening period.
Well, before you kids across Ontario go to bed, why don't you just talk your parents into enrolling you in the Buds Club? For more information, there's the number. Write it down.
Good idea. Being set for the face-off, it's Chad Kilger leaning in to take the draw against Dave Gagne of the Leafs. Kilger lost the draw, and there's Gill with a shot that didn't get to the net. On Gill. Out battling Stapleton. Gill's got it again as he comes out in front. Gartner's shot is blocked. Momesso on drive. Hobby Bullen stopped it. Juggled it and then covered it for a face-off with 24.5 seconds to go.
Well, the Leafs, with kind of a scrambled draw, end up recovering the puck, and there's another good close-in chance. And Todd Gill gets a pass right here, and it doesn't get through by Mike Gartner. So the Leafs are storming the Jet net. And Gagne had a chance there, but he was tied up, and then he goes to the front of the net. Numanen trying to get him out of the way, and does pretty effectively, so Hobby Bullen can grab the puck.
This time it'll be Gagne and Eastwood on the draw as you look at Hobby Bullen. Face off to his right. Gartner and Momesso on the wings. Temple Numanen up now to Dallas Drake. Shannon holding the blue line as Drake goes to the left wing boards. Murphy rode him all the way back in the net. Shannon trying to get away from Gill. Around the boards. Came right out in front of the Leaf goal. It's nudged up ahead, and here's Larry Murphy. Sergio Momesso, his shot is turned aside. And there's the horn ending the opening period. The Leafs outshoot Winnipeg and get the only goal of the period. Warner at 8:24. And at the end of one period on Molson Leaf Hockey, it's the Leafs 1, the Jets no score.
Welcome back to Molson Leaf Hockey on the Global Television Network. The score after the first period of play, Toronto 1 and Winnipeg nothing. Here is the goal set up by Ty Domi on the wraparound. The puck squirts through, and Todd Warner gets his 6th of the season to give the Leafs that 1-0 lead after the first 20. Some great opportunities at both ends of the rink and some sparkling play from both goaltenders, including the Cat, who looks razor sharp tonight. The captain, Doug Gilmour, standing by now with Jim Ralph.
All right, thanks, Jim. Doug Gilmour, an important period. Number one, you get the first goal of the game, and Felix Potvin makes some great saves. A combination that didn't go hand in hand so far during this streak.
Well, you're exactly right. I think when we didn't score enough goals, and Cat would always come up with some big saves, but sometimes you're not going to win with 2 goals or even a goal for that matter. So Cat came up big for us, and we do have a 1-0 lead to start.
Now, yesterday, a mental health expert, I guess is the proper title, met with some of the guys before you flew here to Winnipeg. What did the guys get out of that?
Well, it's just more or less to stay positive throughout. I think the biggest thing is your biggest critic is yourself, and you can't be too negative. And when you go over and you listen to somebody that's a professional at what they do, Peter Dolis, it's like somebody your conscience stand beside you, telling you that you're a goof, you're stupid, you did everything wrong, and you wouldn't do that to somebody else, so why would you do it to yourself? And that's what we looked at, and the guys came out of the meeting feeling pretty good about themselves.
Good luck in the second.
Thanks, Paul.
Hockey on the Global Network. The Leafs with the only goal through 20 minutes of play. I'm Jix McDonald with Harry Neal. Well, if you don't enjoy your job, going to work is a strain. And for a Leaf team right now who's not having any fun, not winning any hockey games, this has to have been tough. Yesterday, I understand, Harry, there was something a little different at Leaf practice.
Yeah, Pat Burns asked 4 or 5 of his players to dream up some drills, none of which have been given to them by the coaching staff and run it as part of practice. Now, they've exhausted every strategic plan, so what they're trying to do is make coming to the rink a little fun, and we know it isn't when you've only won 3 out of 19. I remember back in Vancouver, we went 0 for January one year, and we came up with a scrimmage. The players didn't know we were going to do this, but the boys east of Winnipeg played the boys west of Winnipeg. The losers took the winners to lunch. It was one of the toughest games of the season. Or we would play the Can-Am game, the American plus the Europeans against the Canadians, and they would play for lunch. And there was nothing they were going to learn in that game about winning, but it was going to make coming to the rink fun.
Did it work? Did you get out of the slump?
We did, but I don't know whether that was the reason or not, but I'm willing to say that it was different, and that's what Pat Burns did yesterday. Another time in Vancouver, a lot of coaches make highlight tapes where they show good plays by every player and a lot of big hits. So Dave Dunn was my assistant coach in Vancouver, and we were 0 forever. And he tagged on about 8 seconds of a very adult movie on the end of it. And after we watched this, after the warm-up, just before we went on the ice, every guy on our team was laughing so hard, tears were coming down their cheeks, and I thought, what's the owner going to do anyway? We've lost 8 straight, and we're laughing coming out. Vancouver 6, St. Louis 1. Now, I don't know whether that was the reason, but it worked, and if anything works, you'll try it again. Roger Nielsen had a favorite one to make a change up and have the guys have some fun and take their mind off the losing streak. You had to scrimmage and use a left-handed stick if you were right-handed and a right-hander if you were left-handed.
You still have to make it fun. You've got to come to the rink and enjoy it.
The only trouble with that left-handed, right-handed routine is it looked a lot the way our team played.
Looks like the Leafs are having fun tonight. They're leading Winnipeg 1-0 at the end of one period. We'll return to the Winnipeg Arena. Very cold and frosty Winnipeg this Wednesday night on the Global Network.
Police placed a right winger in an NHL All-Star squad. Popular Lanny McDonald, blessed with a wicked shot and a contagious, spirited attitude, ended that Leaf drought in '77. He was the first Maple Leaf to record 3 consecutive seasons with 40 or more goals, and it was his overtime goal in Game 7 against the Islanders in '78, which put the Leafs into the Stanley Cup semifinals for the first time in 11 years. McDonald entered hockey's Hall of Fame in '92, joining his longtime line mate and best friend Darryl Sittler. Number 7, Lanny McDonald, an all-time great Maple Leaf. Cast your ballot to win one of over 70 fabulous Bell Prize packages. Go to your nearest Bell Phone Center store, Maple Leaf Gardens, or the Hockey Hall of Fame for ballots and contest rules. Montreal, it is possible. 6 other games going tonight, a lot of them underway. Third period, Edmonton 4-3 over Hartford. Waite, Oliver, McCammon, and Mironov have scored so far for Edmonton. Emerson and Ranheim with 2 have scored for Hartford. Buffalo against Ottawa, you see it 2-2. LaFontaine and Burge, Bonk, and Chorsky for the Sens. Boston and New York against the Rangers, where the Rangers are now very invincible on home ice. They've lost 2 in a row heading into this one. Bork and Tocchet, driver for New York. Philadelphia against Dallas. Look at the stars. Sador, Carboneau, and Ledgerd. Lindros for Philadelphia. Tampa against L.A. Nothing to report on that one in the first period. Montreal and Anaheim. This one starts later. And the score here, 1-0 for the Leafs after the first period. The second period is next. You're watching Molson Leaf Hockey on the Global Television Network.
Coated aspirin. For the relief of joint, body, and arthritic pain.
Take a minute now, listen.
Their final visit to the Winnipeg Arena, leading 1-0, and the play of the period is sponsored by Sports Select. Watch the work of Ty Domi for the Maple Leafs. The goal comes at the 8:24 mark. Looking over the shoulder of Hoppy Boulin. Domi wrap around off Hoppy Boulin, right to Warner. His 6th goal of the season at 8:24 for the 1-0 lead. The first period summary is brought to you by Valvoline Canada and the Valvoline family of products. People who know use Valvoline. The only goal in the period, Warner from Domi at 8:24. The Leafs outshot Winnipeg 13-10. Each team had a power play chance, and the period was highlighted by that fight between Baumgartner and McKenzie at 8:26, just 2 seconds after the Warner goal.
Well, is it a coincidence or is it a fact? When Kenny Johnson got hurt, the Leafs' troubles really got to be serious. Remember that game against Detroit where he separated his shoulder? And look at what's happened to the Toronto Maple Leafs since then. They are 3-10-1. They've had 2 goals by their defense corps and 4+ goals against 7 different times. And Murphy, who was Johnson's partner, has only scored 5 points in the last 14 games. Now, it's hard to imagine a sophomore has that kind of an effect on a team, but Pat Burns has had to adjust his defense pairing, has had to alter the ice time, and had to alter who plays against the other team's best lines, and the Toronto Maple Leafs have suffered severely without Johnson. Keith Tkachuk, 7 minutes and 15 seconds, a very low number of shifts for Matt Sundin. And Tkachuk had 2 of the better body checks and 2 of the better chances to score in the first period.
Bill McCreary ready to drop the puck. McCord and Sadik, the linesman. The Leafs with a 1-0 lead. McCown and Ellett on defense. Muller, Andrechuk, and Gilmore up front. The Tkachuk line out for Winnipeg. One with Jamnoff and Olchuk. Keith Tkachuk. Andrechuk back in the net. Gilmore a Chuck. Looking for somebody in front. There's Andrechuk, and he couldn't get to it. And Olchuk turns it around the boards, and Dave Ellett will go back. Ellett looks to McCown, then backed it toward Muller instead. Long high pass off the glass and deep into the Winnipeg end of the ice. Stefan Numminen to Ed Olchuk. Andrechuk, and quite a chunk of Numminen. Fans reacting to that well after the play, and now the Leafs come to center ice. Murphy up off the boards. Gagne puts it back in the net. Gartner races in. Bobby Bullen decides to play it. Got it around the boards for Shannon. Out of the near side of the ice. Gill goes to Olchuk. Finley to clear the puck. Back comes Larry Murphy. Murphy missed all his teammates with that feed. The Jets coming to center. A dump in. It's right at the end of a long shift for Ed Olchuk, and he heads off. Larry Murphy battling Shannon. Gave it to Gagne. Now to Gartner. Dumps it in around Manson. Bobby Bullen did manage to get a stick on it. Then he's turned it to the corner for Dave Manson. And right back to Oleg Tverdovsky. Up the middle of that pass for Shannon. Goes to the right side for Drake. Fires off the stick. A nice pass as it turned out. The net is off behind Felix Potvin.
Well, Eastwood didn't quite take the shortcut route coming down the left wing. Had he done it, I think he would have been able to tip that in, but he kind of went around Murphy on the play. You'll see him come into the picture on the left side of your screen, and if he'd come on a bit of a straighter angle, he might have been able to get a stick on that, and Potvin would have had no chance at all. A dangerous rush by the Jets, and Potvin has been excellent, as has Happy Bullen here early in the second period. Especially Potvin, before the Leafs scored, made 2 glorious stops on Tkachuk.
Not a whole lot of difference between these teams since the All-Star break. Leafs, since the All-Star break, going 3-10-3. Winnipeg 5-8-0, so the difference is 1 point. Winnipeg obviously playing fewer games. Chris King with a long outlet off the boards at center, and McCown has come back. Overled Warner, and the puck is loose in the Winnipeg end as Domi moves in. Bobby Bullen around toward Chris King. Gavich able to handle it in the Leaf zone, then lost it. Chad Kilger rounds the Leaf net, then lost control of the puck. Greg Muni popped it off the boards, picks it up again, and the shot was blocked. There's Korolev with a drive that's grabbed and held by Potvin.
Well, Korolev has been a guy who's done some damage to the Leafs this year with 5 points in the 4 games. But you were saying he's gone into the tank since the All-Star game.
Yeah, he's only had a goal and 2 assists. That was close. Referee Bill McCreary shaken up here as well. The linesman went right to him to make sure he was all right.
Well, Korolev had 15 goals and 36 points before the All-Star game, so he's run into an awful drought there. And didn't even dress Monday night against LA here.
Now Mike Stapleton on the draw here. Darby Hendrickson able to get it back to the stick of Todd Gill. Then to Dave Ellett. Well, it's outlet through Hendrickson all the way down the ice. Jets have to play it. Bobby Bullen kind of nonchalanted it, didn't he? And here's Stapleton. Baumgartner forcing him to move the puck. Manson puts it on the goal line. Bobby Bullen off the boards, off Hendrickson. Back to where Gill had been, and now it's loose at center ice and picked up by Stapleton. Chassé to the front of the net. Baumgartner knocked him off balance. Fans want a penalty, none will be called. Denny Chassé. Everdowski, who is pitched in deep. Olasar over Stapleton. Elliott back to the lead net, starts the play for Toronto. Elliott carries it to center ice. 3 Jets, then 4 strung out at the line, forcing him to dump it in. Winnipeg trying to start out of there. Stapleton left it for Manson, a giveaway. Kurt Muller looks to Andrew Chuck, who scores!
Well, a turnover by the Jets coming out of their own end, and Muller throws a beautiful pass over to Anderchuk, who scores his first point in the last 6 games. Here's the turnover right here. A pass up the middle that never got to the Jet player, and there's the pass, and Anderchuk demonstrates his 50-goal-a-year form by just redirecting this sharp pass by Muller as the Leafs take a 2-0 lead. It's a bad gamble to come over across the middle of the rink with a pass when you're in a crowd 10 feet inside your own blue line. The Jets paid the price for trying it.
2-0 on the goal by Andrechuk, his 17th. They're back in that Winnipeg zone. The puck comes loose. Muller unable to pick it up, however. Olchuk moves it. Chuck is over the line, dropping it off for Jeff Finley. Shot it well wide. Gilmore on to Muller, who races through center ice. McCowan coming up to join him. Muller's shot is high. There's the rebound off the glass. Olchuk jammed off, and the Jets get through center ice. Keith Tkachuk colliding with his teammate, jammed off, and they both ended up on the ice. Here's Kurt Muller. Muller can't get around Olchuk. Gilmore drives over the line. Look at the traffic around him, and the captain able to free it up, only to have it cleared out of there by Teppo Numminen. Murphy back. His pass picked off by Ed Olchuk. Moves in on Gill. Olchuk shoots, spot man, dropped it off, and comes right back, and they score!
Well, the Leafs made a lazy little pass just outside their own blue line. It was picked off by Olchuk, and he scored on his own rebound. Here's the shot from off on the wing. The defenseman lets Olchuk beat him to the net. Todd Gill and Felix Potvin gave a juicy rebound, and Eddie Olchuk put it in. Here's the initial stop. Felix can't grab it. Todd Gill takes Olchuk, and I don't know whether Eddie got a stick on it or just went off him into the net, but a bad goal allows the Jets back in the game here. 2-1 Leafs, 15:27 to go in the second period. Here's the shot. Now Gill goes to Olchuk, and I think he tied the Winnipeg forward up. It may have even gone off Todd Gill into the net. So a fluky goal, to say the least. All started with a bad pass in the neutral zone.
Only a minute and 3 seconds after the Leafs have taken that 2-0 lead on Andrechuk's goal. So Terry Simpson's team is back in this thing on home ice. Olchuk unassisted at 4:33 after Andrechuk had scored on an assist from Muller. Gartner to Gagne. The Leafs come up 3-on-2. Gagne to Momesso. Fed it off in front. McIver blocked that. He got a there and high stick. Play is allowed to continue. Murphy backpedaling for Toronto. Left it for Dave Gagne. Steps over center ice. Plays it to the left side. Gartner in after it. Center, just out of the reach of Gagne. Now Murphy fires toward the net. That hit Gartner. Bounced to Bobby Bullen. Look at the way he dropped down to cover the low ice. Winnipeg able to get it as far as center ice. Gartner and Drake collide on the boards. Eastwood dropping it back into his own zone. Craig Muni goes back along with Norm McIver. Number 44 is McIver to Muni. And now at the right side to Drake. Plays it in around Gill. Yushkevich goes back for Toronto with Shannon right on him. Dallas Drake gets checked. Here's Todd Warner up ahead to Ty Domi. 2 Jets get back, and Domi can't get across the Winnipeg blue line. Yushkevich with a long, hard shot that was blocked. Manson off the boards, right back to Yushkevich. Comes in, then fires one. That was blocked by Kilger. Zettler steps up to the line, shot it in offside. Domi and Manson, look out! Here's a major league battle going.
McCreary waving everybody else out of there. Both these guys are tough customers, and players in both teams wanted to get a close-up look at this fight. But it's more a wrestling match than a boxing bout.
Now the two linesmen will pull them apart. Molson Leaf Hockey on the Global Television Network.
Welcome back to Winnipeg. With me, Terry Kelly, a member of the Leafs Board of Directors. And Terry, I know you've been to sporting events all over North America, but the fact that you and Mr. Stavro, Mr. Belmore are here is going to get a lot of attention.
Well, it's just that we feel they need some support for us representing the people of Ontario and the Maple Leaf fans all over, and so far it's working a bit, and we hope it will continue.
Now, have you talked to some of the players on this trip? And recently
we visited them when we arrived in Winnipeg at 6 o'clock, had a chat with them and had a chat with Mr. Burns, and everything seems to be great.
Thanks, Terry. If they win tonight, you might have to follow them for the rest of the year.
Well, I will.
Okay, let's go back upstairs.
Nice to see the leprechaun here, isn't it? He's been to the Blarney Stone more than once or twice, Harry.
The leprechaun.
What a character. McCowan to Gilmore. The Leafs with a 2-1 lead in Winnipeg. Dave Ellett back of the net. Domi and Manson, by the way, took 2 minutes each for roughing at 5:51 of this period.
So even Bill McCreary didn't think it was much of a fight.
Apparently not. Gilmore centers to Muller. Nice play by Newman to recover there. Out steps Jamnoff. Crisscrossing and deciding to shoot it in, and Ellett is back up off the boards. Handled here by Craig Muni. To Teppo Numminen. Centered around Muller under the pads of Potvin. Nice tip by Tkachuk, but didn't get it over the goal line. Keith Tkachuk walks out in front, comes right in on goal. He scores! There will be no goal. The signal for an interference penalty against Teppo Numminen. It is still 2-1 Toronto.
Well, 4 skaters against 4 gives everybody a little more room. Now watch Teppo Numminen trip Jamie McCowan. And the penalty was called. You can see McCreary's got his hands up right here as the pick allowed Tkachuk to walk right around 180 degrees and put it on the short side past Felix Potvin, but it is not going to count. An interference penalty instead, and the Winnipeg Jets do not tie it up as it appeared.
So Numminen is off for interference. The goal, by the way, by Dave Andreychuk to give the Leafs the lead at 2-0. Linda Horster is our lucky winner in the score and win contest by entering electronically using a savings card at Miracle Food Mart. Linda has won a Mikasa 20-piece dinnerware set.
Well, for 1 minute and 4 seconds, the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to have a 4-skater against 3 power play, thanks to the penalty to Numminen on what looked like a Winnipeg Jet goal. The Jets complained mildly, you might say. So they saw it as well as McCreary did.
The Leafs do have 1 goal in this situation earlier this year in a 4-on-3. Gagne looks to Murphy. Sundin open here on the left side. Murphy gives it to Sundin. One-timed it off the pipe. Murphy recovers at the right point. And again it goes to Sundin. Back to Murphy. Trying to get it to Gagne, but that passing lane was taken away. Gives it to Sundin. Now to Murphy. To Gagne. Gartner is parked in front. Gagne to Murphy to Sundin. Back to Murphy. To Gagne. One-timed it. Turned aside and shot down the ice.
It's a bit of a bad angle shot that Gagne took. If you're going to shoot the puck from 25 feet out or more, I think either of the point men should do it.
This is Sundin across the line. Gagne to the front of the net. The pass didn't arrive, but Kybers cleared it down. 2-1, the Leafs lead. Now it's a 5-on-4 advantage. Numminen sending out the balance of that interference call that nullified what appeared to be the tying goal. Murphy to Gartner. Big collision with Tkachuk. Murphy is across the blue line. Off the boards to Gilmore. Offside against the Leafs.
Well, the third big hit of the night. Keith Tkachuk delivered it. And Gartner is the recipient, as Tkachuk doesn't seem to mind who he hits, and he got a good chunk of Gartner there, although Gartner's on coming at the last minute. The second period's been the best period for the Leafs this year. In their goals for, goals against ratio, they're +4, and it's been the worst for the Jets. They're -18 in the second period.
Well, the Leafs had a 1-0 lead after one, upped it to 2-0. Then a minute and 3 seconds later, and Olchuk scored his 21st of the season. 37 seconds left in this Toronto power play. On Gill toward Kurt Muller. Muller can't get it to Gill. Ellett trying to come back, and the shot from King just went wide by a very small margin. Here's Ellett. King cruising in the lead zone, now backs out as Dave Ellett carries the puck towards center ice. Decides a long shoot-in is the best idea. Stapleton and Muller. Gilmore comes in, got it to Dave Andreychuk. To Ellett. Back to Andreychuk, slow-moving pass. Andreychuk shoots, turned aside. Muller the rebound, and he can't get it across the pads. Goaltender Nikolai Habibulin. Ellett falling, has the puck beneath him. That right at the end of the penalty to Numminen. So we'll get a face-off outside the Winnipeg zone. We'll be right back. Closed captioning of tonight's second period is brought to you by UAP Napa Auto Parts, the Pro's choice in 2,600 member installer and Auto Pro service centers across Canada.
Matt Sundin has got 5 points in 3 games against the Jets this year. Lets a howitzer go, and you're going to see Habibulin get enough of it, and the post gets the rest of it. And the Leafs are thwarted on the power play.
Right from the draw, Pat Burns changes up here. Against Kurt Muller out there with Gilmore and Andreychuk. There again, Shamnov, Tkachuk, and Olchuk. Leafs shoot it in. Manson making the exchange here with Habibulin. Manson and Tverdovsky, the defense pairing. Manson is turned back by Gilmore. Ishkevich at center ice. Steps over the Winnipeg line. Ran into Manson as he puts it in the near corner. Gilmore behind Muller with that pass. Muller can't battle his way in front. Andreychuk dug it out of some skates. Sets up McCowan. McCowan toward Andreychuk. Missed everybody as they cut to the front of the net. Muller having a heck of a time getting away from the clutches of Shamnov. Now it's Dave Andreychuk. He plays it deep. Gilmore on the end boards. Picked up by Tverdovsky. Muller put it out in front. Habibulin put the big catching glove on that. Said enough.
That's a pretty good forechecking by the veteran Leaf line of Andreychuk, Muller, and Gilmore. And they forced a couple of turnovers and had a couple of opportunities to score. The Leafs playing with a little more confidence tonight, especially Dave Andreychuk, who scored one of the goals. There's a lot of Leafs players who need a goal or two to get the motors going again, and Dave Andreychuk may be the most obvious example of that.
Leafs have outshot Winnipeg 8-4 in the second period. Each team with a goal. Andreychuk for Toronto, Olchuk for Winnipeg. Sundin is up with Warner and Domi. Murphy and Gill on defense. It's Mike Eastwood taking the draw here for Winnipeg. It's Shannon and Drake with them. Domi puts it on the end boards. Mike Eastwood lifts it high in the air, now towards center. Back goes Todd Gill. That's Drake moving up to forecheck. Gill off the boards and out. Muni shoots it right back. Warner puts it behind the lead net for Gill. Up to Domi. Sundin cuts through the middle. The pass to the left side here for Todd Warner. Big collision. Oh, he got all of Muni. MacIver gets the puck around the far boards. Murphy is there. Murphy's pass is picked off. The Jets come up 3-on-2. MacIver across the line, but Eastwood was ahead of the play, and it's offside.
Well, a big-time collision here, Muni and Warner. It's one of those ones where you're not sure who delivered the check and who didn't. But the one thing to remember is that Muni won the battle because Warner lost the puck. And so you don't have to knock a guy down to make a good defensive play. If you stop him suddenly like that, the puck goes on into the corner, and Muni, who's hit a few guys in his life, not many that high, is, in the opinion of John Paddy, going to settle this defense down and give a guy who's had some cup experience, who can block some shots, who doesn't mind playing a rugged game. He came over in that trade from Buffalo, where Shannon and Grosick went the other way, and Muni and a first-round pick, Philadelphia's first-round pick, came to the Jets.
And of course, that more recent trade with Philadelphia involved here, in which Cheveldae goes to the Flyers and Roussel comes here, and a draft pick involved in that. Dominic Roussel in the backup role tonight. It's got a lot of people puzzled.
Yeah, because the Flyers put Cheveldae on waivers right away and are hoping them to send him to Hershey if he clears.
High-priced goaltender in the American Hockey League.
They may have another plan they haven't quite executed yet.
Could be. Long shot here, sails off the glass. Chassé plays it right in front of the net. Brought out by Baumgartner. Up to Colasar. Art Colasar runs into Madsen. Right into him a second time. Hendrickson trying to move around the boards. Darby Hendrickson pulls up on Madsen. Shot it right across the goal mouth. Baumgartner puts it back in the net. There's Hendrickson. Colasar was open for a moment. Hendrickson holding the puck, turns it in deeper. Bobby Boulin decides he'll get another whistle and a face-off. This is Molson Leaf Hockey on the Global Network, 2-1 Toronto.
Besides a raspy voice, Dave Manson has another trademark we see 1 or 2 times a game, and it's a straight arm. Must have been a high school football player, because he stopped Colasar dead in his tracks with the straight arm right here. The only thing he didn't do is pick the ball up and run for a first down. The penalty leader for the Jets, 145 minutes, and he's got 151 shots on goal. And he's got one of the hardest shots in the league.
Mike Keenan tried to get him suspended too recently, huh?
Yeah, he chopped Jeff Courtnall across the hand and broke his wrist. Now, I'm not justifying that as a legal act, but the gloves the players wear these days, it's amazing there aren't more of them that have their wrist broken, especially goal scorers, and especially the low hand on the stick.
As I recall the incident, Courtnall did not have the puck at the time. It was just cutting through in front of the net, and there was a little tap. That was a big-time stop there by Bobby Boulin. Another one off Gartner. Mike Gartner trying to get it out in front. Surrounded by Winnipeg Jets. Look at the job. Momesso shot is blocked. Gartner gets it loose. Picks it up back of the net. Gets away from Muni's check. Feeds it back to Todd Gill. Gill couldn't get it to the front of the net. McIver to Dallas Drake. Drake keeps the play onside. Then his pass is deflected. Momesso doesn't get it outside the line. Gagne turns it to the near side of the ice. Jets beat the Leafs to the puck. Here's Todd Gill. Turned away from Darren Shannon. Shannon right back on him. Gill slipped away again. On to Murphy. Then across toward Gartner to Momesso instead. Momesso has shot it in, and the Leafs start to change up. Bobby Boulin around the boards to Keith Tkachuk. Muller moves in on him. Gilmore came in, couldn't pick up the puck. So the Jets are out of there. Jamnoff down the left wing boards, trying to cut in on Ellett. Didn't get any room. And referee McCreary has spotted some interference. It'll be the Leaf captain, I believe.
On the back check, Doug Gilmore, as he watched Zamnoff pour down the left wing, hooked Tkachuk coming up the middle of the rink. And here it is right here. Gilmore is saying Tkachuk hooked him first and then pulled himself by Gilmore. And he did, and then he went down, and the referee McCreary saw the second half of that double hook, and interference is the call on Gilmore. The Jets, with 7:33 to go in the second period and down by a goal, get a power play opportunity here.
Their second of the night. Matt Burns with a new look. We talked about making some alterations. He had the hair done today, didn't he?
Very observant. I didn't realize you used to be a beautician.
No. Muller to take the face-off against Ed Olczyk. Winnipeg winning the drive. Here's McIver. Leans into one that just missed. Jamnoff waits for it to come back. And it goes out of play in his effort to get it deeper to the corner. Winnipeg with just 4 shots on goal in the second period. The Leafs have had 10.
Leafs definitely playing with more confidence tonight, and they've really had an opportunity to be up by more than just one goal. But we've seen disastrous third period spoil first 2 periods of lots of games in this 19-game slide.
Let's see what happens here. Muller on the draw. Dave Ellett waiting. Patience pays off, only to have it go out of play.
That's a tough play. I mean, Dave Ellett had all kinds of time to ice it and miscued a bit, threw it out of the rink, face off in the Leaf zone.
Canadian Tire has great prices on everything you need. Plus, earn Canadian Tire money with every cash purchase of merchandise. Great prices made better at Canadian Tire.
Again, it's Olchuk and Muller on the face-off. Olchuk wins it this time. Zhamnov to Korolev, back to Zhamnov, up the slot. Hard shot, just missed. Igor Korolev puts it around the end boards. Over goes Kolesar. Kolesar, Muller, McCowan, and Ellett killing it off here. Comes back to the point. Zhamnov shot. Sailed high. He got everything on that. Winnipeg unable to center it cleanly, and Dave Ellett forces the Jets back down the ice. 45 seconds gone, and the penalty against Gilmore. Toronto 2, Winnipeg 1. Here's Keith Tkachuk. Kanye went right to him, and the puck goes to Sundin. To Gill, and on into center ice. Kanye moving up on McIver. Down to Tkachuk. To Igor Korolev. Drop pass, and a pretty one for Olchuk. To the point for Zhamnov, who didn't get a stick on it. McIver does. 50 seconds in this Winnipeg power play. Zhamnov, cross ice. Korolev is over the line. Goes to the corner, then sets up the point man, Norm McIver. The puck was up on edge as he passed it off. Gets it right back. This is Korolev. Olchuk had been knocked down in front. McIver to Korolev to McIver. Handed it off to Sundin. Gagne up on the rush as well. Sundin driving wide to Gagne in front. Can't get it by Hobby Bullen. Todd Gill to Sundin. He scores! Pretty short-handed goal.
Now the problem started when McIver lost the puck in the Leaf zone after the Winnipeg Jets had controlled it for 15 or 20 seconds. Sundin came. Here's the turnover right here. The puck seems to go right onto the stick of McIver, who didn't look where he was passing it, and the Jets never did recover. Todd Gill jumps into the rush. Korolev paying no attention to him at all, and he's the guy that throws the puck over to Sundin, and Sundin makes that very quick move to his backhand and puts it up over Hobby Bullen. So some poor defensive play, not only the bad pass, but it was a 3-on-3 rush. Korolev's the only guy in the rink that didn't realize it. Gill got it because of that miscue and put it to Sundin, who put it in.
27 goals for Matt Sundin, 6 of them short-handed. And the Leafs now have 11 short-handed goals. But more importantly, Matt Sundin individually 6 ties him with Mario Lemieux, the most in the NHL, the short-handed route.
Looked a little like a Mario Lemieux goal as well. He got to the backhand and put it right into the roof.
Time of the goal is 14:08. The penalty to Gilmore is over now. And it is 3-1 Toronto. And with that goal by Sundin, our next lucky winner in the score and win contest is Amy Hode of Port Hope. Amy entered score and win at AMP. Congratulations, Amy. There's what you've won. A Gold Star Star Touch 2 VCR.
Goal number 27 for Matt Sundin. He leads the Leafs in points. Game-winning goals, shots on goal. And here comes the goal now. A nice pass by Gill. About 15 Winnipeg Jets turned away. All of them could have taken Sundin easily. None of them did, and it cost them a goal against.
So the Leafs with a little breathing room again. Muller, Andreychuk, and Gilmore, the forward line with Ellett and McCowan on defense. Here's Gilmore walking in. Got turned around by Tverdovsky, centered, and Andreychuk is denied by Hobby Bullen. Dave Andreychuk, who has one of the 3 goals tonight, left it for Gilmore. Look at what Manson did to him. Now Kilger rushes it through center ice. The pass is behind Korolev, but King coming late is met by McCowan. Good, solid check. Korolev to Kilger to Finley up the slot. The shot was blocked by Gilmore, and he bats it. Stays in play. Handled next by Winnipeg. Kilgore lost it. Dave Ellett to Doug Gilmore. Gilmore flips it toward Hobby Bullen. Drops it off as the Leafs are changing up. Jets start their changes as well. Teppo Numminen. Shannon tipping that into the Leaf zone. Potvin to play it, but now a whistle and a penalty signaled by the referee. This is Molson Leaf Hockey on the Global Network.
Doug Gilmore picks the penalty up for unsportsmanlike conduct. It was not too many men on the ice. It was too many words out of Gilmore's mouth. He gives McCurry a shot, and he turns around here and gives another little speech. And that one cost he and his team 2 minutes.
Potvin had to be good on Tkachuk. Felix has been excellent tonight. Only that one that got by him. Olchuk at 4:33. Presented some problems. 4 minutes, 9 seconds remaining in this second period.
Level 1 tickets up for purchase, not bound with other offers.
Dave Gagne on the face-off with Olchuk. Winnipeg holding on to the puck here. Numminen fired it just wide. This is Korolev to Zhamnov. In around the boards off Tkachuk's stick. Dave Gagne will get to it. Up ahead to Sundin, who shoots it down the ice. Allen and McCowan on defense. Gagne and Sundin the forwards. Zhamnov quarterbacking the power play. His pass was tipped by Sundin. McCowan knocked it down, and Zhamnov feeds it back. This is Teppo Numminen with Sundin moving in. Numminen looks up ice. Muller was there, but the pass gets through on the right side. Korolev shoots it in around the boards. Yushkevich with Potvin, and that pops over the glass. Stops the clock with 3 minutes and 21 seconds to play in the period. 1:06 left in the penalty to Gilmore.
I guess Gilmore is referring back to that original penalty where he was hooked by Tkachuk and then he hooked Tkachuk. And I think he was trying to plead his case about 4 minutes after the crime was committed. And McCurry, I guess, had heard enough. As the captain, you're allowed to talk to the referee, but you can't use any kind of language you want.
You see the referee there, Bill McCreary, Dan McCourt, Mike Savick, the linesman. Kolesar and Muller up front. It's Gill and Yushkevich on defense for the Leafs. 56 seconds remaining in this Winnipeg power play. The penalty to Gilmore. Alexei Zhamnov to carry it. Comes over center ice across the Leaf line. Still has it as he lost it. Yushkevich put it up in the seats.
Another tough break because the Leafs had an icing which would have burned up about 20 seconds on the penalty, and it went out of the rink here. And so the faceoff will be in the Leaf zone, although they do get a chance to make a change, and somebody threw the puck back. The Leafs have played a pretty solid game here with 2:57 to go, especially the defense core and Felix Potvin, and their opportunistic scorers have been opportunistic tonight. Sundin and Andreychuk especially.
Leafs have given up only 16 shots on goal in this game. Only 6 here in the second period. We have under 3 minutes to go in the period. Manson from the point. Didn't get it through. Stapleton looks to Manson. Looked to Tverdovsky as well. Now the long pass. Tverdovsky's one-timer was blocked by Kolesar. They set up Dave Manson for a shot that's blocked in front. Here's Kirk Muller backhanding it down the ice. 12 seconds left in the unsportsmanlike conduct call. Manson to Tverdovsky. Pulled it away from Gagne. Fed it on to Dallas Drake. Hard around the boards. There's Shannon. Gagne went to him. Stapleton gets to the puck. Feeds it back toward Manson. Gilmore hits him hard. The puck stays in the Leaf zone. The bound Murphy is there to clear it out.
Keep your eye on Manson and Gilmore.
Manson didn't hear him coming, did he? Murphy lost it to Dallas Drake. Gilmore is on him. It's dug out of there. In and out of Gagne's skates. Now Murphy is pulled down, and there will be a penalty against Winnipeg. Gagne and Murphy both ended up on the ice, and referee Bill McCreary has heard just about enough of the complaints from Winnipeg. He stopped dead in his tracks on his route to the penalty box.
Well, Zamnoff is going to get the penalty, and here it is right here. It's a from-behind trip. Gilmore came streaking out of the penalty box. Manson didn't hear the approach, but he certainly felt the arrival, and the puck never got out of the zone. The fans screamed for a penalty there. And now the Leafs have a power play with 1:47 to go in this impressive second period if you're a Leaf fan.
We're a minute and 47 seconds away from our second intermission, and as part of it, as always, Dirt Devil brings you red-hot trivia. All of that ahead on our second intermission from the Winnipeg Arena. Jamnoff off for tripping. Offhand holding it up. Murphy, Sundin, Gagne, Gartner, and Andrechuk out on the ice. This is Larry Murphy to Mike Gartner. Things open up. He gets over the line with a pass here to Gagne. Back to Murphy as one-timer hit King. Numanen didn't get it out of the zone. Murphy now to Andrechuk. Knocked away as he was at the side of the net. Comes off the boards. Look at the traffic around him. The pass. Neat one to Gagne. Finley was on him in a hurry. Here's Andrechuk to Dave Gagne. Sundin blows it off the point and is beaten by Bobby Bullen. This is Gagne. Out in front. Gartner can't tuck it in. Chris King trying to work his way up the boards. Was met by Sundin. Less than a minute to go in the period. Gartner to Andrechuk. Looks to Murphy. Now gets it to Sundin instead. Then into Andrechuk. Trying to set up Gartner. It got through to him and he stopped. There's Andrechuk. Put it up high, and Hobby Bullen made two, maybe three big stops there.
Took one on the mask for the team there. Andrechuk, who can get the puck up high in a hurry from close in, had a real chance to score, and he bounced it off the wire cage, protecting that bearded face of Hobby Bullen. The Leafs had another excellent chance on the power play. Here's the one I'm talking about. Andrechuk gave it away, and then Numanen lost it. And watch this. Andrechuk pulls it and tries to go right up and hits the mask. And here's the pass I'm talking about to Sundin. Gagne to Sundin, the penalty-killing right winger. Chris King got over way too far, took his eyes off the point man. Sundin realized that and jumped into the hole, and from about 10 feet out, couldn't get it by Hobby Bullen.
Now 52 seconds in this Leaf power play. Less than that remaining in the second period. Shot down the ice by Dallas Drake. Left hand to Murphy. Larry Murphy checks out his options, lugs it through center ice, and shoots it in off the boards. Hobby Bullen to play it. Manson got a piece of Gilmore. Gilmore's got the puck out to Muller. Holds it, and then just shot it wide. Sundin trying to get control of the puck, tied up the man, but Winnipeg is able to clear it out, and that'll do it for the second period as Murphy is dropped back here. Just dumps it out through center as the horn sounds. The Leafs outscored the Jets 2-1 in that second period. Get a big shorthanded goal by Matt Sundin. So your score at Winnipeg through 40 minutes of play on Molson Leaf Hockey. Leafs 3, Jets 1.
For each table, I have to do as the ledger says. Whatever they want, I just write in the box. That way I don't mess up their meals. It's really important I don't mess up their meals.
The auction, which included a Felix Potvin glove and jersey, was very successful. And while the players were serving hors d'oeuvres, the Leaf management was there greeting people at the door. Karen Heaslip, Arma's president of the board of directors, was there as well.
Arma is a second-stage housing program for abused women and their children, and it's based in Mississauga. We have 8 women and their children at one time, and they are allowed to stay there for 4 to 6 months.
For the seafood lovers, you got the seafood manicotti. Delicate pasta blankets stuffed with crabs, shrimp, scallops, ricotta cheese smothered in a spicy tomato cream sauce.
Are you ready for me?
Sure.
What are the specials? You said you could
The specials, what you got on the menu? And don't ask me, all right?
All in all, a fun time was had by all, and the players and their wives raised over $70,000 for a great cause. And they didn't spill a drop. Now here is the biggest goal of the game so far. Shorthanded Gillicross to Sundin, who goes in and scores at the 14:08 mark. That gives the Leafs a 3-1 lead, and that's the way it stands right now. Maple Leafs 3, Winnipeg Jets 1 after 2 periods of play. We'll continue on with more right after this timeout on the Global Television Network. Leafs 3, Jets 1 after 2. Coming up next, Dirt Devil Red Hot Trivia.
Dirt Devil presents Red Hot Trivia. Brought to you by Dirt Devil, makers of the MVP vacuum. Nothing escapes the power of a Dirt Devil. When was the last time the Rookie of the Year and the runner-up were from the same team? We'll have the answer right after this.
Put the power of an upright in the palm of your hand with a Dirt Devil hand vac. It's lightweight, powerful, and has a revolving brush to deep clean any surface. Put it to work for you, and you'll see why nothing escapes the power of a Dirt Devil.
We're proud to announce that this model not only passed.
When was the last time the Rookie of the Year and the runner-up were from the same team? Need a hint? It happened in the 1970s. The New York Islanders in the 1970s were a blueprint for success by an expansion team. In 1976, the Calder Trophy was won by a player who would go on to become the Islanders' all-time point leader. Ryan Trottier played over 1,000 games with the Islanders and won many other awards in later years, including the Hart, Art Ross, and the Conn Smythe. The runner-up for the Calder Trophy in 1976 is the all-time shutout leader for the Islanders with 25. In his rookie year, Glenn Resch collected 7 shutouts, also a team record, and he knew the Islanders were a team with a bright future.
Yeah, I saw some greatness there, especially in Brian Trottier. That's why it was an honor to play with Brian his first year. And then, of course, we had Potvin and we had Gillies, and we had the nucleus of a pretty good team, and they were young. So we felt once we learned how to win, that we had a chance to build a dynasty there.
1976, the last time the winner and runner-up for the Calder Trophy were from the same team. Another Red Hot Trivia. Brought to you by Dirt Devil, makers of the MVP vacuum. Nothing escapes the power of a Dirt Devil.
Just because you can't read what your prescription says.
Since its inception in 1927. Tonight, we look back on a successful playoff trio for the Maple Leafs on Memories, brought to you by Chevy Trucks. Chevy Trucks, like a rock. It's 1967. The Maple Leafs are facing an uphill climb to their 4th Stanley Cup in 7 years. However, they received a number of clutch performances to achieve just that. Among them, the work of Peter Stemkowski, Jim Pappin, and Bob Pulford, a threesome that ignited the offense that spring. Stemkowski's all-round excellence was teamed with the two-way play of Pulford and the timely touch of Pappin to form the difference as the Leafs upset Chicago and then Montreal on their way to the 1967 Stanley Cup title. It's our focus tonight on Memories, brought to you by Chevy Trucks. Chevy Trucks, like a rock.
To remember. Tons going on out of town tonight. There are 6 other games to feature Boston and New York, where the Rangers are very invincible at home. Sounds like the Gene Principe story. Gene?
Thank you, Jim. Action going on between the Boston Bruins, who are taking on the New York Rangers. Rangers having some trouble on home ice after being almost unbeatable at MSG. Check it out. Power play. Adam Oates wins the draw. Ray Bourque with the shot. Wires one past Glenn Healy. Boston leading 1-0. A few minutes later, it's Sean McEachran over to Rick Tocchet. Bangs one in off the post. Bruins leading 2-0. Rangers get one back before the second period is out. Also with a man advantage, Bruce Driver will beat Billy Ranford from the point. 2-1. Boston Bruins would add another one and go on to win this one by a final of 3-1. The full story in sports on a shortened version of Sportsline coming up tonight at 11:30. Now back to Jim in Winnipeg.
This NHL update sponsored by the Bank of Montreal. It is possible. Here's what's going on elsewhere. Some of these are already done. And look here. Edmonton blew a 3-1 lead. 4-4 was the final. Ranheim with 2. Castles with the tying goal for Hartford. Buffalo wins in overtime thanks to a goal by Derek Plant. Further on down the list, we have Philadelphia against Dallas. It's now in the 3rd. Lindros with 2 for the Flyers. Medana with the 4th goal for Dallas. Just about to get underway. Tampa Bay and L.A. as the Kings get on without Gretz. Good luck. Montreal and Anaheim. And the score here, 3-1 for the Leafs after 2 periods. It'll be an interesting third. Stay with us. The 3rd period is next. You're watching Molson Leaf Hockey on Global.
That'll be our next matchup for you on the Global Television Network Sunday night. The Leafs making their 2nd trip to the Mile High City from the Big Mac. The Leafs and the Avalanche Sunday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on the Global Television Network. In our game at Winnipeg tonight, the Leafs go to the 3rd period with a 3-1 lead. But the play of the 2nd period is brought to you by Sports Select. And a look at the coach. He had the right guy on the ice. Dave Andreychuk, as it turned out. 3 minutes and 30 seconds into the 2nd period. Kurt Muller to Andreychuk. Behind Hobby Bullen, Andreychuk's 17th goal of the season. The Leafs led at that time by a score of 2-0 and lead now 3-1. All set for the 3rd period. Keith Tkachuk against Doug Gilmour. 10 seconds now remaining in the penalty time against Jamnov. For all intents and purposes, it's been killed off. As Murphy is deep in his own zone. The outlet to McCowan. Shot it in from center ice. Teppo Numminen back. Muller on him. And Jamnov is back out on the ice. So the Leafs are 0 for 3 with the power play in this game. Olchuk into the center ice area. Taken down. Play allowed to continue. On comes Andreychuk, who had knocked Olchuk off the skates, and up high to the right side. Hobby Bullen getting that with the right shoulder and then covering it.
Olchuk was tripped in the neutral zone and fell on his shoulder and then slid about 40 feet right into the boards.
Here's the story of the 2nd period. The summary brought to you by Valvoline Canada, the Valvoline family of products. People who know use Valvoline. After that goal by Andreychuk that we showed you, Olchuk came back a minute and 3 seconds later, getting his 21st. Matt Sundin, shorthanded, his 27th. The Leafs outshot Winnipeg 16-6 in that 2nd period. 29-16 going to the 3rd. Gagne wins the faceoff. Gartner to Gill for a drive. Here's Jamnov up off the boards. It bounced on Gartner at the point. Back to Murphy and then to Todd Gill. Gill hard in around the boards. Gartner danced around Shannon but couldn't pick up the puck. Shannon's outlet to Eastwood didn't connect. Murphy ridden off the puck by Eastwood, but Gagne was back to help. He shot it in from his own side of center ice. The call now is icing against the Leafs.
Well, some exterior statistics coming up for you here. The big one is 3-1 Leafs. Matt Sundin, 10 minutes. Tkachuk, 13. Terry Simpson's team has turned the puck over more than the Leafs. They've been a little more aggressive than Toronto, but the chances to score, 16 for Toronto and 11 for the Winnipeg Jets. And the score, 3-1 Leafs.
Including tonight, the Jets have only 9 goals in their last 6 games. A shutout, back-to-back games, one in St. Louis, one here at home against Pittsburgh. They got themselves a big shutout win on home ice Friday night against Chicago in overtime, 1-0. And a win over Los Angeles on Monday night, trailing the Leafs 3-1. Third period just nicely underway. This is Gartner pulling it away from King and then had to go back to recover. Picked up by Korolev. Gilger was there and couldn't handle the puck.
Leafs have to be careful. Remember the game against Tampa. They got back on their heels and tried to kill the whole third period off. Tampa took advantage of that strategy. Scored 2 and then forced it in overtime and scored the third to beat them.
The Jets trying to get out of the zone. The pass handled by Kilger comes in off the left side. Just missed the net. On Warner up off the boards, but not out. Ivor has shot it in deep. Potvin to play it here. Todd Warner gives chase. Warner, who opened the goal scoring tonight. Can't get it to Sundin. Here's Tkachuk across the line. Tkachuk's drive, handled by Potvin. Jim Ralph has an injured Leaf with him. Jim?
That's right, Jigs. With me, Kenny Johnson. Kenny, we saw the injury you suffered in Detroit earlier in the show. What is the status right now?
I think I got 3 or 4 weeks left here, and I start to skate Monday here for conditioning. Just follow the road to prepare for conditioning for myself.
Now you look at this game here, 3-1, still 17:57 left in the second period. Could this be it?
Yeah, hopefully it can be it, and you should never say never. It's a hard game out there, and it's pretty tough. A lucky goal for them, and anyway, we're just a 1-goal game again, so hopefully we get another one here first.
Thanks for joining us, Kenny.
You're welcome.
Let's go back upstairs.
Nice Jim. Face off in the Leaf zone. Alexei Zhamnov and Kurt Muller on this draw. Held by Newman. Long high shot. Knocked down. Potvin couldn't hold it. On the doorstep. And finally smothered. Anxious moments again, Harry.
Well, the Leafs lost the draw directly. That was the start of the problem. And in the point shot by the Winnipeg defenseman, looked like it might have been caught by Potvin. It was high, and Potvin dropped it. And any old Czech is still talking to himself after not being able to tap the backhand in. And, of course, that's how the first goal went in on a rebound that was a little juicy. That one would have gone well over the net had Potvin not touched it. So the Winnipeg Jets are going to be alive offensively, and the Leafs have got to be ready for him. It gets that puck into the Winnipeg zone and working around with it.
Again, they won the faceoff. This high shot tipped off the glass, and Andreychuk can't get it up the boards. Andreychuk tying up Newman in. The puck comes loose and is slapped out of there. Chasing it back is Jeff Finley. Icing to be called against Toronto. 2 minutes, 29 seconds into the period, Harry.
Well, the Leafs had a lot of success, especially in the second period, by playing a lot of the period in the Winnipeg zone. Get it deep if you're even men on the rush through the center zone and get after it, because the Winnipeg defensemen have given the puck away when they've been under duress, and the Leafs have cycled it pretty well and had some good offensive zone puck control. And it's always a nice feeling when the puck's 180 feet or more from your own net when you're trying to protect the lead.
We'll see how the Leafs handle it here. Sundin on this draw against Alexei Zhamnov. Sundin won the faceoff. Skevich turned it around the boards, but right to Zhamnov. Centers. Finley's shot went wide. Eddie Olchuk at the side of the net couldn't pick it up again. And the Leafs are able to get it to center ice. Newman has dropped back. On to Zhamnov. Gartner slowed him up. Potvin leaving the puck here for Yushkevich. Turned it around the boards toward Mike Gartner. On to Dave Gagne. To Gartner, and things open up on the right side. He shoots, the rebound is there, and Gagne couldn't get it in. Then he is slammed into the boards. Gagne is down, hurt. And calling for the Leaf training staff.
Well, he went into the boards very awkwardly, and this would be a tremendous loss if Gagne's hurt for any length of time. He has been the best Leaf player for the last 4 or 5 games. Brent Smith out there to take a quick look at him. An excellent opportunity. Gagne made a lovely little pass to Gartner on the right wing and then went to the net. And as he turned away, he was either knocked down or tripped and slid into the end of the rink going pretty quickly. You got to hope in a situation like this that he's winded. I know you think you're going to die when you get the wind knocked out of you, but it's not as serious an injury as you might think. And hopefully this one is no more serious than that. Let's have a look at it. It was a nice pass to the right winger by Gagne. Then he went to the net. And there it is right there. Tkachuk nudges him from behind. And Gagne got his shoulder turned and went into the rink back first.
Still quite a discussion going on between the linesman and the Winnipeg player, Keith Tkachuk. We'll be right back.
Well, then Dave Gagne being helped to the Leaf dressing room by Gartner and Momesso, and Brent Smith is taking him from there. The good news is they got him up to take him off, which makes you think that it isn't his arm or his neck or his legs, but he looks like he's on easy street there, and still not as healthy looking as you'd like. It's a 5-minute penalty, Tkachuk. for hitting from behind, but it wasn't a boarding call. It was more of a shove than anything. And Gagne never did get his hands up, and you can see Tkachuk is worried right away when he takes a look at Gagne. And that's why Tkachuk was not thrown out of the game and was given a 5-minute penalty.
Winning number this evening's Winnipeg Jets goal for against draw is 176.
3:01. Time at the penalty on Tkachuk. Early in the third period at Winnipeg. Leafs 3, Jets 1. It'll be Gilmore with Andreychuk and Muller. Allen and Murphy on the points. Terry Simpson trying to make a late change, and referee Bill McCreary is denied it.
I think he wants 2 centers out there in case Stapleton gets thrown out. Eastwood was the guy who was going to replace Chris King, but wasn't allowed to.
Now Stapleton and Gilmore on the faceoff. Won by Gilmore. Allen at the left point. In deeper to Gilmore. Looked to Murphy. Gave it to Andreychuk instead. Muller taken down in front of the net. Gilmore holding on to the puck. Gave it to Ellett. The shot was deflected, and Jeff Finley controls it here for Winnipeg and turns it over. Gilmore can't get around Finley. Andreychuk with the pass. This is Ellett to Murphy, but outside the blue line. Back to Ellett at center ice. Up the left wing, Gilmore kicked it smartly to Muller, who shot it in. Double Newman takes it from Hobby Bullen, finds the seam, and the Leafs will have to chase it. First man back is Murphy. 45 seconds gone in the major penalty. Gilmore, after accepting the pass, gives it back to Muller. To Gilmore. Gilmore spreads things out a little bit, trying to get somebody open. To Andreychuk, it bounced off his stick. Back to Gilmore now. And a point for Murphy. Over to Dave Ellett. One times it, and it's blocked in front. Shot out of there and down the ice by Darren Shannon. He's got a chance to change up here. The Leafs getting Gartner out with Sundin and Momesso. Murphy and Gill, the defense pairing. This is Gartner. A shoot in. Hobby Bullen to play it. High up along the glass and away from Murphy, and a nice tip by Dallas Drake. Leafs send Todd Gill back for it. Chris King in forechecking. Gill carrying the puck through center ice. Hard in around the glass. It ends up in the seats. Missed the glass entirely.
Well, Dave Ellett, who's been a capable Leaf for a number of years, came over from the Winnipeg Jets, where he started his NHL career, 299 points in 7 seasons. And he was a key guy on some of these Winnipeg teams. They changed their uniforms, as you can see. And Dave Ellett, at one time, was as good a power play point man as there was in the league.
Quite a gun from back there, didn't he? Yushkevich and Gill on the points now for Toronto. Sundin, Gartner, and Momesso up front. Todd Gill with a long pass to Yushkevich, to Momesso. Tapped it as far as the Winnipeg line, and Newman shoots it down. Gill is back. First 2 minutes in this major penalty to Tkachuk has been killed off textbook fashion by the Winnipeg Jets.
Sometimes it's hard to create the urgency in a 5-minute penalty that you can create in a 2. And the Leafs have been anything but sharp in the first part of this 5-minute penalty.
Sundin raced in. Couldn't get it to Gilmore. This is Yushkevich. Up the slot with a shot blocked. Muller can't tap it to Gilmore. Chasing it down the right wing is Stapleton. Yushkevich got back. Nice job by Stapleton. Then it's forced outside the Leaf line. On comes Todd Gill. Gill with a shoot in. Hobby Bullen slid back of the net to give it to Muni. He finds an opening. Now 2 minutes and 5 seconds remaining in the major penalty against Keith Tkachuk. Larry Murphy with the shoot in off the glass. All the way around. Muller kicks it away from Drake. Newman back in the net, lost it. Muller can't pick it up. Ellett does. Into Andreychuk. Let it go to Gilmore. To the side of the net. Muller was there, and he couldn't convert the pass. Out comes Drake. Dallas Drake Plays it ever so slowly into the Leaf zone. Winnipeg with a chance to change up. Murphy carries it through center, then gave it to Momesso, who shot it in. Tempo Numanen turns it out of the zone. Felix Potvin will have to play it here. And does for Dave Ellett. Ellett checking his options as he carries it over center ice. Takes the shot, then the play goes offside as Gartner kept it right on going. The closed captioning of this third period is being brought to you by Regal Capital Planners. Over 25 years helping Canadians reach financial independence.
Well, a good crowd on hand by the standards for the Winnipeg Arena this year, or last year in the National Hockey League. And as usual, across Western Canada, where Leafs travel, you'll find lots of fans wearing Leaf sweaters. Well, we have the attendance, do we?
Yeah, 13,518, Harry.
Well, that's a way better than they have been getting here in Winnipeg, as their NHL history starts fading into oblivion. They become the Phoenix Scorpions.
Sundin is knocked down.
They'll have lots of sting to their offense next year.
Oh, boy. Well, at least he left it for the third period, folks. It's been shot down the ice by the Jets. Seconds in this power play. Gill got it to Hobby Bullen. Face it off in the Winnipeg end of the ice.
Well, Dave Manson, who we showed you one of his Reds Grange specials in the first period as he straightened up Colasar on a rush with that straight arm. And we're going to see another one here as the Winnipeg Jets have done a nice job 34 seconds away. And when you try and go by Manson, you have to get that straight arm right in the chest. I don't think there's a rule in the National Hockey League says you can't straight arm. Sundin isn't one of the Singer midgets coming in on him there. He knocks him over.
Hansen gets that helmet down where he wants it. Gilmore moves in to take the draw against Eastwood. Muller on the right, Andrechuk on the left. Andrechuk played it back to Murphy. Down to Gilmore. Larry Murphy once more for Gilmore. Fakes. Played it in deeper to Muller. Gilmore to the side of the net. There's the pass. Nice stop by Hobby Bullen. What a nice setup. Muller to Gilmore. Gilmore jabs it toward the corner. Battling Craig Muni. Andrechuk dug it loose. Gives it to Gilmore. Pulls up. Looks to Muller. There's the pass. Nice stop again. Well, the chances came late in the bad advantage, and they're taken away by Hobby Bullen. Game's at full strength again. Andrechuk can't get it deep in the Winnipeg zone. Brought over center ice by Ed Olchuk. Olchuk sliding to the right. Centered it back toward Jamnov. Jamnov's shot is wide. Finley cruises in off the right point. Goes a little deeper, but Gill is there to feed it on to Gilmore's stick, and the Leafs flip it up through center ice. Doesn't go very far. Toronto to player change. Numanen gave it away to Mark Colasar, who shot it in. Leafs 3, Winnipeg Jets 1. Finley going back in the net was stripped of the puck and then recovered nicely. It's Keith Tkachuk to Numanen up off the boards. Too far for Ed Olchuk. We're going to get a whistle for an icing against Winnipeg. 11-12 remaining in the third period on Molson Leaf Hockey.
Now you know what the Leafs have gone through, Mr. Stabro. They're throwing chocolate bars out, and he takes 3 or 4 of them right in the face. Oh, it's tough on the road, sir. It's tough on the road.
Man.
What are they? Chocolate bars, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It's a promotion. They've been tossing those things around the seats. He didn't even dive to recover one of those. Of course, you can get them to wholesale, can't he? Wow. He escaping from the right point into the chest protector. So we'll get another face-off in the Winnipeg end of the ice. Situation is this: 11 minutes, 8 seconds remaining in the third period, and the Leafs have a 3-1 lead.
Well, the Leafs have been in control of this game since about halfway through the first period when they made it 2-1. They've outshot the Jets 35-21. They've outchanced them by a fair number. But when you haven't won very often, you never feel safe, even with a 2-goal lead with 11 minutes to go. This is the kind of a game that you have to win when you're struggling as the Leafs have with a lead with 10 minutes to go or 11 to go in a game. You know the Jets are going to be coming. They're going to be rushing 4 defensemen, or 4th guy as a defenseman. They're going to be pouring off the blue line into the point. So you have to be aware defensively, especially the wingers in the Leaf zone.
Gilmore, Muller, and Andrechuk. We'll see how long they're out there. Gilmore puts the puck in deep, and immediately Muller heads off. That was the signal that Pat Burns was giving, that rolling finger motion. Change up. Warner has come out. Now Gilmore and Andrechuk get off the ice. Sundin, Domi, and Warner as the forwards. Juszkiewicz and Gill on defense. And now Winnipeg is changing. So some line matching going on here. McIver in deeper to Eastwood. Back of the net. There's Shannon. Gill is on him. Sundin knocked it loose, but Mike Eastwood, a little wrap around. Comes through to the goal mouth. See what Potvin did? Just reached around that Jets player to cover it. Little scuffle in front of the Leaf goal. Things had settled down.
Well, Pat Burns has been working all night, and working successfully, I might add, at getting Gilmore against Zamnov. And this is the one matchup he wants. And if you come into the opponent's rink and want only one matchup, you got a chance of getting it unless the opposing coach is more stubborn than Terry Simpson is tonight.
We want to make it perfectly clear. You'll find guaranteed low prices at your Canadian Tire store every day. If you find a better price anywhere, we'll match it. Guaranteed.
Following our coverage of hockey from Winnipeg tonight on the Global Network. The World Tonight with Peter Kent, followed by Sportsline, all condensed to 30 minutes. Gene Principe with Sportsline, Peter Kent with the news, coming up on the Global Television Network. Now 10.5 minutes remaining in this third period, but a holding signal. Referee Bill McCreary putting the Leafs shorthanded here.
The Leafs lost the draw, and in an attempt to get out to the men that they are responsible for, Sundin is going to take a holding penalty. And it was after the face-off. Eastwood won the draw. Sundin then did this. Have a look. 3 gloves on the stick. It's a penalty in the National League. Sundin complained about it. A lot of nerve to complain about it when McCreary was standing there. And it's the old story. You've got a blue and white glove on the stick and 2 red, white, and blue gloves.
Can't do that.
It's the big penalty kill for the Leafs because the Jets are starting to think they have a chance here after being on the wrong side of the scoreboard for most of the night.
4th power play of the game for Winnipeg, and they got it through to Potvin. The rebound to Zamnov. They score! Olchuk.
Lost the draw again on the penalty killing situation. It went back to the point, and all 3 Jet forwards went to the net. Potvin makes the save, but can't control the rebound, and it slides around and comes right out on the stick of Eddie Olchuk, and he has no goalie to beat, and the Jets are back in the game with 10:23 to go. And now it's a true test of the Toronto Maple Leafs' ability to tighten up and win the last 10 minutes of this game to get a victory that's an absolute necessity the way they've been going. The crowd has come to life. The Jets have come to life.
Olchuk at 9:37. Only 6 seconds after the penalty to Sundin. It's a 3-2 Leaf lead.
You have to be optimistic at a time when most things that are happening to you make you pessimistic. And that's a tough sell by the coach. An optimist is a man who, instead of being sorry he cannot pay his bills, is glad he's not one of his creditors. And that is Pat Burns' biggest job now in the last 10 minutes of this game, is to pump up his team when he'd like to punch out many of them. Because they need this win, and they have to go out on the ice feeling as good as they can about themselves, and not many of them can do that the way things have gone in the last month or more.
Winnipeg jumping on a loose puck. Drake a wrap around. The rebound out in front. Eastwood can't get it by. Here's Drake. The Leafs under pressure. Eastwood. Another drive. comes out of the goal mouth. Newman's got it. On the end boards, Eastwood around to Drake. Here's Newman with a shot high. Drake can't get a stick on the rebound. Another penalty. A cross-check against the Leafs.
Well, the Winnipeg Jets had 4 guys up, as you can see by our replays here. Newman was standing right 10 feet off the goal, and no white shirts were going down. Now take a look. See 27 Newman right in there. All the Leafs. Nobody knows he's there. I don't know who the forward is that should get him. It's the right winger, but he hasn't got him. And Newman gets 2 shots, and then Gilmore gets knocked down by Shannon. No call. Gilmore gets up, and McCowan is going to get a cross-checking penalty right there.
9:49, the time remaining. Period number 3, the Leafs with a 1-goal lead. How many times have we seen this unfold past month or more?
No one on the penalty-killing crew took the left point man. Everyone was trying to help everybody else, and Newman had 2 great chances to score, and now they're in the box again.
They get the puck back to Newman. Jamnoff fired it wide. This is Norm McIver. Did he bring it outside the line? Apparently he did, and the offside delayed, and now they set up at center. McIver and Newman playing it back and forth. Sundin wrapping up Newman. McIver looks up, and Kolasar is on him. Good job by Kolasar. Olchuk ends up with the puck, and the Jets come to center. 3 Leafs back. Olchuk across the line. Slowed up. Kolasar caught up to him. Jamnoff turns it to the point for Newman to McIver. Into the far corner for Tkachuk. Now to Jamnoff. Off the skates to Gilmore, and the Leafs are out of there. Gilmore to the Winnipeg line. Holds on to the puck. Buys a little time. Now Newman takes over. Murphy and Gill on defense. Muller and Gilmore up front. Here's Newman across the Leaf line with a feed to Tkachuk. Back to Jamnoff. To McIver at the point. A screen in front. They score! Hotman all over Olchuk. Knocking him to the ice as the Jets celebrate.
I don't think Felix Potvin could see that at all. The Leafs are complaining there was a man in the crease, and it was a point shot that found its way through. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, as fast as you can say, Winnipeg Jets have squandered a 2-goal lead and are in a dogfight right here. The puck comes to McIver. He just wrists it in. It's tipped by Tkachuk and slides underneath Potvin into the goal. A wrist shot, a tip, and you can see that Eddie Olchuk's feet are not in the crease. And the goal will count, and the Jets are now tied with 8:44 to go as the Leafs fail on 2 penalty-killing missions. Not much of an effort by Murphy to get Olchuk out of there, and I don't think Potvin saw the tip in at all.
Keith Tkachuk with the goal. He's had 10 goals, and including an assist tonight, 5 assists, 15 points in 14 games since the All-Star break. So we've got a 3-3 tie at Winnipeg, and the Jets are at full strength with the Leafs. Here's Manson, the right side. Trying to hit the late man, Manson. It stays in the Leaf zone as Dallas Drake moves up. Drake knocked it out of the air. Murphy goes to him. The puck bounced away from Murphy, who was falling to the ice. Womesso up off the boards to Sundin. Out into the middle to Murphy. 2-on-1. Gardner across the line. Shoots. Bobby Bowling got a chunk of it. Ends up high in the seat. A 3-3 tie. This is Molson Leaf Hockey. Hey, the 29th day of this month, the big night at Cops Coliseum. The Rockers play the Classics. The showdown takes place tomorrow night. The game pits the nation's leading musical recording artists against members of the NHL Old Timers. Proceeds aiding in the effort to save the Hamilton Philharmonic Orchestra, as well as the Kids Help Phone, a 24-hour distress line for youth, and the Harris Foundation as well. It's all tomorrow night at Cops Coliseum in Hamilton. 7 minutes, 54 seconds remaining in the third period at Winnipeg. Ed Olchuk with 2, Keith Tkachuk the other. For the Jets, it's been Sundin, Andreychuk, and Warner for the Maple Leafs. The Leafs, remember, led 3-1. Domi is pulled off his feet. McIver brings the puck up through center ice. Across the Leaf line, dumped it toward the corner, and McCowan goes to it. Up through Muller, Jamnoff is there, so is Henriksen, and the Leafs don't get a stick on it. And the Olchuk is knocked down. McCowan with Olchuk holding his stick. On comes Muller. Delayed penalty call in effect against Winnipeg. Muller can't get it through Jamnoff, and now Toronto will go to the power play.
Oh, the Leafs get an opportunity here. 7:17 to go. They squandered a 5-minute power play without getting much in the way of a good chance, but they're going to get a 2-minute one here. The Jets have just scored twice to make it 3-3, and here's the penalty right here. Olchuk's knocked down, and he hangs on to Jamie McCowan's stick and gets a penalty for it.
Fourth power play of the game for the Leafs. Sundin, Andreychuk, Gardner, Gill, and Murphy out for Pat Burns' team.
Well, in this third period, the special teams for the Leafs have caused the problem. First of all, they couldn't score in a 5-minute major, and then they gave up a power play goal on each of the 2 minors they took. So they have a chance to redeem themselves here. 7:17 to go. Toronto 3, Winnipeg 3 here in the third period at the Winnipeg Arena.
Mike Eastwood will take the draw with Matt Sundin. Stapleton is the other forward for the Jets. Numminen and Muni, the defense pairing. Sundin stepped into Eastwood. The puck goes to Gill, then to Sundin, back to Gill. Pulled it away from a falling Eastwood, and the shot one that was blocked. Mike Stapleton shot it off Murphy, and Eastwood is able to dump it down. Winnipeg changing up. They get Chris King out as a penalty killer here. Gill lugs it out of the Leaf zone. A shoot in from center ice. Hobby Bullen didn't get a stick on it. Sundin trying to knock it away from Stapleton. Now to Gardner back of the net. Puts it out in front. Sundin's backhander off a stick. And Sundin. And Mike Gardner. The puck bouncing away from him and shot out of there by Chris King. Felix Potvin quickly turns it up towards center ice for Larry Murphy. Murphy's pass to Warner up the slot. Warner can't get a shot away as Manson knocked him flying. Dave Manson has it in his skates. And got it to Shannon, who couldn't get it out of the zone, but Drake does. Drake into the Leaf zone, pulls up and guides it in deeper. Shannon and Ellett collide as Murphy takes control of the puck. 52 seconds in this power play for Toronto. Gardner can't get over center ice. The Leafs send Dave Ellett back for it. He allows Gilmore to handle it. Now 40 seconds in the power play. Gilmore stick handling into center ice. Gave it to Warner. They're offside at the Winnipeg blue line. Muller thought he had straddled the line and held it, but not so.
Dan McCord is saying you lifted up the foot that was on the line, and that puts you offside. And Pat Burns gets that old feeling that he's had too often in the last 20 games, watching his team be in control for most of the game, and now are in a situation where if you believe momentum's going to be a factor in who wins it, then you have to like the chances of the Winnipeg Jets. But the Leafs need a dramatic win. Maybe they're setting themselves up for it right here.
Well, they've had to overcome the loss of Dave Gagne just after the 3-minute mark in this period, out with what we're told is a concussion. Tkachuk took a major penalty on that. Winnipeg short-handed coming over the Leaf line. Here's Teppo Numminen. Ellett takes him back of the net. Hold him off the puck. It's handled now by Yuskevich. 15 seconds in the power play. All takedown of the Jets went uncalled. This is Gilmore. Back to Dave Ellett. Takes once into the slot. The shot was blocked. Ellett had it bouncing and couldn't get wood on it. Jamnoff brings it out of the zone. That kills off the penalty time against Ed Olchuk, and they spring Olchuk coming in on goal for the hat trick, beaten by Potvin. Sticks up, pushing, jostling, some heated words after the whistle. All-time hockey. 5 minutes, 10 seconds remaining in the third period.
Well, Eddie Olczyk, who's been the most dangerous, I think, other than Tkachuk possibly, of the Winnipeg Jets, and he steps through the middle, takes a nice pass from Zamnov, and Felix Potvin made a great stop to keep this thing at 3. Here's Zamnov. He can make the puck talk. He turns around and puts it right on the tape for Olczyk. Olczyk's bothered slightly by the back checker, and maybe that took his attention away from the move he was planning, but Felix Potvin comes up with a very timely stop.
The Jets have outshot the Leafs 12-8 in this third period. Boy, you look down that Leaf bench. Been there before. Seen it all.
Well, they're all telling each other, don't panic, boys, don't panic. We still haven't lost this one. But those kind of comments, the way they played lately, are tough to believe.
Hendrickson on the draw against Olczyk. Won by the Jets. Zamnov scored!
The Leafs have lost a lot of face-offs tonight in their own zone, and they're a direct loss of the draw right back to the point. And you can see Zamnov, who switched positions with the defenseman so he could play the point, and he just one-times this baby, and it hit somebody on the way in. So the strategy of putting Zamnov where the defenseman usually sits in the offensive zone face-off and moving the defenseman up to a wing position worked.
His 21st goal, 5 of them in games between the Jets and the Leafs. Winnipeg has the lead for the first time tonight. Olczyk won the draw cleanly. Murphy puts the puck deep in the Winnipeg end of the ice. Sundin tying up Darren Shannon. Gardner couldn't get to the puck again, and Eastwood nudges it up ahead. Here's Drake. Across the Leaf line. Long shot blocked by Potvin, and there's no further play. Leafs trail by a goal late in the third.
Here's another look at the go-ahead goal. Does it go off 55 Larry Murphy's leg? It looked like it might have. And Pat Burns tells you all you want to know about that play as the puck goes in on a direct face-off loss. And the Leafs are down 4-3, giving up 3 third-period goals.
In cruise control at 3-1 at Olczyk. Then Tkachuk and Zamnov, 3 goals, 5 minutes and 15 seconds apart. 4-3 Winnipeg, and they break out of the zone. Trying to make it an odd man rush. Here's Tkachuk off the left side. Back to Zamnov. Shot stayed wide thanks to Andrechuk. Pete Tkachuk shortened up on the stick and played the puck toward the net. This is Jamie McCowan. Exactly 4 minutes to play in the third period at Winnipeg. Muller is over the Winnipeg line. Kurt Muller ends up on the boards with Finley. Stapleton playing the puck around the boards. McCowan in deep to Muller. Finley is yet to release him. This is Doug Gilmour. Andrechuk open in front. Tied up before he can get a stick on it. Out comes King. Newman jumps up on the play to make it 2-on-1. The late man is Korolev. Centers off Stapleton. Off the goalkeeper Potvin as well. Todd Warner rushes the puck into the Winnipeg end. Cuts inside on Muni and couldn't get a shot away. Now Sundin peels off the boards. Gave it to Yushkevich. Worked it in deep, and was knocked down there by Craig Muni and cleared out of the zone by Mike Stapleton. Just over 3 minutes to play in the third period. Murphy with a high shoot-in. Mike Eastwood goes to it. Gardner went to him. The puck right to Sundin, and he can't get the shot on. Bounced outside the Winnipeg zone. Yushkevich trying to set up Warner. Instead it hit a stick and ends up in the Winnipeg players' bench. So many of this crowd of over 13,000 came to cheer the Leafs. Now they're cheering that man's team.
Mike Stapleton made a great defensive play here to prevent what looked like could have been an easy goal. We all know how Gilmour can operate behind the net. And you're going to see that right here. In comes, right there, Dave Anderchuk, who was just going to let one go from 7 feet out, and his stick was lifted by Mike Stapleton and prevented what looked like a golden scoring opportunity for Anderchuk.
2 minutes, 58 seconds remaining. Third period at Winnipeg. Jets got control of the puck, and Mike Eastwood has shot it down the ice. On Gill back for an icing. The Leafs have had 37 shots on goal, 8 of them in this third period. The Jets have had 31 shots on goal, 15 in this period.
And the scoring chances in this period with 2:49 to go are Winnipeg 8, Toronto 2. So the tables have turned badly for the Leafs. And their precarious slide looked like it might at least be detoured to some degree. Looks like it could continue.
But you know, you watch this game, you know to a man, nobody goes out and wants to lose a hockey game. It's not as if they're playing to lose, trying to lose. If you think they are, then you better look somewhere else. Long shot. Bobby Bullen has that tucked away in the top of the left pad.
Well, it's a state of mind as much as anything. I mean, when you're confident and you're on a roll, you win these kinds of games. And when you're not, you find a way to lose them. And the Leafs could be headed with 2:46 to go. They won the face-off, got a long shot, but Habby Gulen saw the whole thing and made an easy stop.
Hendrickson and Eastwood on the face-off. Olazar to the right, Momesso to the left for the Leafs. The draw won by Hendrickson. Gill with a shot right to Habby Gulen.
Now the problem is, and give Winnipeg credit, the Leafs have won 2 draws directly to the point. No Leaf could get into the line of the shot. I mean, that's what you want to do, is when the puck goes to the point, you want one of the 2 players or the center, although the center wasn't allowed to on that play as Eastwood wouldn't let Hendrickson go, to get to the front of the net. If for no other reason to cause a traffic jam, because you know if you go to the front, one of the Jets will go to the front, and we saw how that philosophy paid off for the Jets on their 3rd goal, a point shot that was tipped. If no one's there, no one's going to tip it.
Pat Burns tried to make a change, tried to get Hendrickson, Kolesar, and Momesso off the ice. Bill McCreary very dramatically with his arm up in the air saying no, no. And Olchuk on this face-off won the draw for Winnipeg.
Olchuk's won a lot of draws for Winnipeg tonight, including that big one.
And here is Manson through center ice with a shoot-in off Shamnoff's stick. Back to Manson for a shot. Skate save. Sergio Momesso recovers the puck. Around toward Larry Murphy. Back now to Gill. Gill to center ice. Gave it to Murphy. To the Winnipeg blue line, and then a dump in. That in a glove that was on the ice. Is picked up by Murphy in front. Momesso couldn't make contact with it. Cleared out of there by Tkachuk. Jamnov kicks it in from center right to Felix Potvin. 2 minutes, 3 seconds remaining in the third period. Todd Gill rushes it to center, then shoots it in. It actually hit Muller and stayed outside the line. And that kind of a night again. Korolev with a long shot. Skavich and Gilmore went back, almost colliding. Here's Chris King at the left point, shooting it in around the boards. The Jets, Igor Korolev gets checked, and it came right back to him. Korolev turns on Ellett. Gilmore steps in front of him, and Yuskevich takes control of the puck with 1.5 minutes to play in the third period. Potvin still on the ice. Andrechuk to Ellett. Potvin looking to the Leaf bench after this shoot-in. Ends up in the far corner. Murphy comes in off the point. Potvin dust down, beginning to inch his way toward the bench. As Ellett unloads, it was blocked. A scramble in front. Gilmore can't get it up over the arm. It's still in play under a pileup of players. Gilmore, finally the whistle. Wow, that chewed up an awful lot of time. 1 minute, 8 seconds left in regulation time.
Well, Gilmore had a great opportunity, but he couldn't get a stick on the puck as it sat to the left of Habby Gulen, and then a great pileup occurred. Here's the shot by Dave Ellett that gets through, and look at Gilmore. He just can't get his stick on it. And then we have one of the great pileups of NHL history, and the puck sitting under 2 Leafs, and the Winnipeg Jets are going to ask for the face-off to be outside, I'm sure, but they're not going to get it. The Leafs take a timeout. I think the Leafs took the timeout. And Pat Burns will get a chance, and he's had this chance too often lately, and that is some goalie out strategy.
1 minute, 8 seconds to play in the third period. The executives on hand tonight. Their team with a 3-1 lead. And then in the span of 5 minutes and 15 seconds, it disappeared and turned into a 4-3 lead for Winnipeg. The Leafs go to Dallas right after the game tonight, play there Saturday, and on into Denver for a game on Sunday. That game we'll have for you on the Global Network.
And Dallas won tonight, did they not? Well, they were winning.
Yeah, they had themselves.
So that would, if they did, that would be 3 in a row for them. Of course, when you've won 3 games, perhaps in the last 20, if the Leafs don't score with 1:08 to go, everybody's a tough opponent.
Andrechuk, Gilmore, Sundin, Muller with Murphy and Gardner.
Dallas are 4-4 going into overtime. Philadelphia tying it up.
Sundin and Jamnoff on this face-off. Muller to the right, Andrechuk to the left. Well, they had it pretty well figured out. But so did the Jets, and Olchuk has cleared it toward an empty net. It's just wide as Gardner went back.
The fastest guy in the NHL caught the puck.
Here's Murphy to Sundin. Left side to Andrechuk. Toward Gilmore, but just out of his reach. Bobby Bullen decides to reel it in and get a face-off.
Face-offs have been a problem for Toronto tonight. More in their own zone than in the Winnipeg zone. But here with 49.9 seconds to go, a face-off to Habby Bullen's right. The Leaf goalie is out. Here's the race between the fastest player in the NHL and one of the 3 million pucks they use, and Gardner won the race. I don't know whether it would have made it into the net, but Gardner wasn't going to take that chance.
Same lineup for the Leafs. Gardner at the left point, Murphy at the right. But Gilmore is charged with the face-off against Olchuk. Won by the Winnipeg Jets. Newman tied up by Sundin. Gilmore nudged it to the slot, but Jamnoff is there and clears it high in the air. Down into the Toronto zone, but not far enough for icing. Gardner up to Murphy. And Mike Gardner, left side to Gilmore. Up ahead to Muller, to Sundin, off his stick. Newman recovers, cleared it out. 25 seconds to go. Murphy is stripped to the puck. Eddie Olchuk tripped up by Murphy. Referee Bill McCreary calling the play. Got a lot of help from the crowd. A trip signaled on Larry Murphy.
Eddie Olchuk would have made it to the net on the post if he hadn't been tripped, and of course the goaltender's out. So this penalty to the Leafs looks like it spells the end to Toronto tonight. 15 seconds left. And Olchuk, who's been a real thorn in his former teammate's side tonight, he scored twice. He has won a lot of big face-offs here on the big line with Tkachuk and Jamnoff. Now here's the penalty right here. Olchuk's on his way to the empty net. He's tripped. And there's the whistle. And the clock ticks off 5 seconds. Well after the whistle had gone. And I'm sure you're going to see them paste another 5 seconds back on the clock. I guess not.
No, everybody either went undetected by the Leaf bench. The Murphy for tripping at 1944. Winnipeg with a man advantage. They lead 4-3. The two teams had split the 4 previous games. And it appears that Winnipeg, with 1 left between these two teams, will go into Toronto leading the season series 3-2. And they put 5 points between themselves and the LA Kings. 6th spot, a playoff spot. Couple of chances denied by Potvin. Then Shannon gets a stick on it. Sundin to him. Drake can't center, and it's all over at Winnipeg. The Jets recover from a 3-1 deficit and hand the Leafs a 4-3 loss.
Well, that puts the Winnipeg Jets 4 points behind the Leafs with 3 games in hand. And the Leafs remain 3 behind the St. Louis Blues. And the nearest team to the Leafs regarding playoffs, LA 51 points, and the Edmonton Oilers 51 points. So the Leafs better worry about who's chasing them. And a very, very tragic loss for Toronto tonight. And here's hoping that maybe the best player for the Leafs in the last 10 days, Dave Gagne, isn't as badly hurt as we might think.
Back with the Molson Cup 3-star selection right after this.
We came Winnipeg time now for the Molson Cup 3-star selection from tonight's game. The number 3 star from the Leafs, Kirk Muller. The number 2 star, Keith Tkachuk.